Hello, Matt.
G'day, how are you?
What time is it with you?
You're interrupting my dinner.
Could be worse.
Could be a whole lot worse.
Good to see you don't dress for dinner.
I can't believe there are some people here without a tie on when we gave them ties to wear.
We are live streaming.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It's a health and safety issue.
Yeah.
Who want to start?
Yes, please.
Measures received.
Right. We'll start our council meeting now. Whoops, right. We'll start our council meeting now. We have with us a full contingent of councillors. No, we have a full contingent. Welcome. We will start with a reflection from Deputy Chair Malcolm.
Thank you, Chair Hillary. Remaining positive. In the world of change, it's absolutely critical to remain positive and drive for the best possible outcomes. I listened on the sports news this morning where our cricketers Tim Seifert and Finn Allen created a world record, scoring 175 not out. World record. The naysayers quickly jumped on. The opposition were poor. But in fact, every other team in the world had the opportunity to create that record. So I say let's celebrate that. It was sensational. We have a free trade agreement later on that same time frame as I drove down. A free trade agreement with India, 1.4 billion people, and the naysayers quickly jumped on the phone. And I sat and thought to myself, if my daughter could sell a cherry to 10% of that population because of the free trade agreement, what a great opportunity for New Zealand. That would be a lot of cherries. So it's a great opportunity. Central government has decreed a drive and absolute intent to simplify local government and to reform the Resource Management Act. So let's today take a positive step forward and drive ahead with their intent. We cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust our sails. So let's adjust our sails to the winds of change, adjust them positively, and ensure we create the very best possible Otago Regional Council and let our environment and communities thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Very inspirational, Deputy.
Cheer.
We have no apologies. Moving on to confirmation of the agenda. Would somebody like to move that the agenda is confirmed with the attachment to the Resource Management Reform Draft Submission to be added later,
So
which is what we've got now? Moved, Kevin, seconded, Councillor Wilson. All those in favour?
Aye.
On the contrary, carried. Declarations of interest. Has anybody got anything they need to talk to us about with them standing aside from decision making because they have a conflict, or that a conflict may arise in your role as an elected representative and any private or other external interest? No? Right, confirming the minutes of the council meeting of 9th December 2025 is a true and accurate record. Do I have a mover?
There was just a change that had to be made to 8.3, I think it was.
Consideration of meeting schedule that the word not be removed from recommendation.
Are we?
Just say that I said we just remove with or without, because it was confirmed.
Yeah.
So just take out those words.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kat.
I'm happy otherwise.
Right, so moved, councillor Somerville, seconded, Kate. confirmation that the minutes are an accurate record, subject to removing the with or without in 8.3 changes. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, moving on to 6.1. Paper response to the government's simplifying local government proposal. This has been one that's been moved forward a wee bit, just picking up the bits and pieces by Kevin and I. So maybe, Kevin, you would like to join the people at the other end of the table as
Really?
part of the presentation of this paper.
Yeah, I haven't got the time.
Yes, that's right. Just-
Where was the first council laws?
And just a note here that just because of our template and other technical things, it's been presented as if it's been authored by Mariana. Whereas what Mariana has very competently done is picked up the comments made by councillors around the table and attempted, and a very good attempt, might I say, to collect them together in some sort of coherent response. So despite the fact that it says it's been authored by Mariana Brooke, she is not responsible for the content therein in any way. Right, over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. This is our response to simplifying local government. We have had our workshops. We have both the chair and I have canvassed thoughts from throughout the South Island and throughout the regional sector of New Zealand. And I would like to just add that our thoughts very much align with many in the regional sector throughout the country. And it is correct to say that it is a very good summation of the thoughts of our committee, of our workshops. And I've just asked, have we added the proposal?
I've seen it.
Yeah, you'll see
we
it,
just
but not
need-
added. We're going to add that.
We would
put
add
up
it.
on the line. That we have, you'll note that part of it was a response to the question from Ngāi Tahu, and we have heard back from Justin Tipper from Ngāi Tahu, who gave us a response late yesterday, and with the help of our CEO, have crafted for your approval our support or our alignment with the Ngāi Tahu position and explaining their position.
By alignment, I think, Kevin, means the ways where we feel as a council, if we do, that we support the sense of direction that is being carried out by Ngāi Tahu. So we're not saying we're totally aligned with Ngāi Tahu, we're saying here's the areas that we consider that we can be supportive of their submission, which is quite well aligned in a lot of areas. Is that your feeling? So do we want to adding that in as part of the draft? And then we can work through each clause and see what people think of each clause. I think that would be the way, so.
Are you going to note number 10 as well has been added?
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
This, I'll move, if somebody would like to second, adding for the year as another 10 in our draft, for a draft for us to discuss today.
I'll move it.
Right. Moved by councillor Robertson, seconded by Kate. All those in favour?
Right.
Right. So now we have a draft document. Do people want to make any comments about those, and then we can move them as we've finished having thoughts about them, or making any comments we want to add? Councillor Kelleher.
Thank you. It's just on that very first question. Do you agree there is a need to simplify local government? Our answer is LRC strongly agrees in bold. There is a need to reform local government. Now, simplify and reform could be taken as similar or quite different words. So if we're saying something different to a very specific, clear, short question, and we're making a very short, clear answer, if we're going to use a different term, should we bolden or somehow highlight reform as being different to simplify, or should we change it to simplify? To be in line with the question. I'm okay with either, but I think it's just we're saying something different to the question.
So would you be suggesting that the answer to that should be yes?
Yes to what? I gave two. Two
Well,
was anyway.
Do you agree that there is a need to simplify local government? Answer, yes.
Yes.
Chair, we're just, with your indulgence, we're just checking the actual document because we do think it's just possibly just either a typo or a copy of exactly what was your because it was a multi-choice answer.
Yeah.
We're just
might be a
checking
typo.
that we've, yeah.
Right.
If you could just bear with us, councillor Kelleher.
They've changed it.
That was the way anyway for that one.
Were you wanting to say something, councillor Hillier?
Point of clarity on that.
No, I'm all good, Hillary. I'll let you, I'll jump up and down if I want to say anything.
Yeah, it is, one of the option was strongly agree, but it does not need to be in, it's just being picked up, it's just in normal font as opposed to bold.
I think it's just a typo. So I had the question is, do you agree there is a need to simplify local government? And then you're given the usual options of strongly agree, neither agree nor disagree, or strongly disagree. So the word that is a typo is reform. It should say simplify local government. So apologies there. Just haven't carried that across
that as well.
accurately. So we can choose whether to answer in response to the question, do you agree there is a need to simplify local government? Strongly agree down to strongly disagree. Apologies there. Sorry about that.
Right, if we work through these, and if somebody has a comment like Gary has just made, then we will assume that we'll sort of nut it out as we go through, and if they don't, I will assume that that answer is acceptable to us, so as we can do the whole document at the end of this.
That was all. Thank you.
Right, number 2.
I'm shocked too.
Is anyone unhappy with what has been drafted as an answer to number 2?
Overall reasonably happy, but I would, if it was me, I wouldn't put in as an alternative option. OSC would support a Crown Commissioner model. I think we just put forward, in my opinion, that we business as usual, regional council governance function should remain with regional councillors. Yeah. I have a big issue with Crown Commissioner model coming in to replace democratically elected people and us putting that forward. I don't like it myself, but we did sort of talk about it, so yeah.
So you would just eliminate the
Yep.
two sentences if further oversight and the one after. Councillor Noon.
Can I just comment on that particular topic? I did make a comment in the workshop, and I was really satisfied with what was picked up about the Crown Commissioner, and it was in the context of the CTB being driven by the mayors. So it was sort of a fallback position. If we're not going to be involved, I wanted to make sure that there was neutrality to the extent that the whole conflict of interest and patch protection thing would be diluted if you had a Crown Commissioner or commissioners involved. So that was the context of the discussion. So I understand where Gretchen's coming from, that's fair enough. But I would still like to see some sort of fallback position that just emphasises, I suppose, their concern around the CTBs being driven by the mayors of the region.
Kate.
I think I think staff have picked up on the themes, but not possibly the nuance, and that's partly the frustration. So it's not a criticism; it's the frustration in the process of answering the actual questions. The idea of the statutory observer was a watered down way of ensuring that we were transitioning well, and that was in the context that I had raised that, because knowing what the government needs and expects from us, and us understanding what we might need from them, and getting that clarity of process and engagement with the minister seemed to be the only way of doing that would be through a statutory observer. So I think there were almost three parts to that answer. Yes, we think we should stay with the regional mandate that we've already just received from our community. Secondly, if it needed to be a relationship with government to ensure that we're transitioning well, whatever that looks like, then a statutory observer could do that job. But if a CTB was done, then maybe a Crown Commission would be a better use, it would be required in there.
Right. Gretchen, in light of what you've heard, do you want to maintain your...
Two things there. I've heard Andrew say that a full Crown Commissioner model would be good. And I've heard Kate say that somebody that sits with the board would be good. So that's two different things. And I said, I don't really like putting forward either. So no, I don't think we've come further. But I think coming forward as a council saying we support a Crown Commissioner model to replace elected people isn't really it, full stop. Because even Andrew says it is, but for me and for perhaps what Kate's saying, elected people, or whether they're mayors or whatever, in the mix, some people are supporting.
Well, we can either vote on which way we go here, or we can vote on the basis of short is better, so we start with the taking them both out and see whether there's support for that, and if not, we will leave them both in. Does that sound like a suitable way forward?
Just this, because I do recall this conversation, because there was a number of different thoughts around the commissioner versus statutory observer, and it almost ended up in a hierarchy, which I think is what we have tried to reflect in this. And first preference is regional council governance functions just stay as they are. That's the regional mandate from the community, and that was the preference of the table to communicate that to the government, encouraging them that if they would like further oversight, that a statutory observer is the most appropriate tool for that oversight, and we've had that previously. I wonder if that next sentence would benefit from, as an alternative to a CTB, should regional governors be removed? Because that's the only context we were talking about the use of Crown Commissioners.
Thank you, Richard.
Does that work, Gretchen?
Yep, that's good. Yep.
Okay,
That was the intent.
councillor Gillespie.
No, I got my question answered. That conversation then just got my head in the right place.
Okay. Cool. Councillor Laws.
Listen, I think we're missing the point a little by suggesting alternatives to what we're being proposed here. And I think it would be foolish to go down either of these routes of suggesting that regional councils could be improved either by adding a Crown Commissioner or by adding a statutory lay observer, as was the case in the Wellington City Council. If you go back to the press release that the ministers put out, there are only in actual fact two proposals. The first proposal is abolishing regional council laws, number one. And the second is locally led government or regional representation, local government representation. Those are the two proposals that were put out by the ministers. Now, I know there's a 25-page or 26-page booklet, but the reality was that in the press release that was put out, the reason why they were suggesting that regional councils need to go, and they actually varied in that press release between regional councillors and regional councils, they used both, saying both needed to go, was that by removing regional councils, if I can just quote you very quickly, we can cut duplication, reduce costs, streamline decision-making, make more efficient services, greater accountability, and better value for every dollar spent. There's the proposal the ministers have put out, and there's the reasons why. At the moment, what we're suggesting is, well, no, everything's hunky-dory. So it's business as usual that we want to do. Yeah, it does. We want to keep. We
Just for
disagree.
stage one.
No, we strongly disagree with stage one to replace regional councils with a CTB. But then we're coming up with an alternative governance model was, well, if you don't like what we're doing, and I think you should be quite explicit about this, we'll add these Crown Commissioner models or other things to it. I don't think that's addressing what the government's looking for from us, which is, will their model do the things that they say they want achieved? And have we come up with an alternative model that would meet what they want achieved, which is unnecessary duplication, the reduction of costs, the streamlining of decision-making with this particular proposal? So I just wonder if doing something as prosaic and frankly as timid and ridiculous is trying to suggest the Tauranga City Council model or the Wellington City Council model is really addressing their fundamental argument that local government's in trouble. Here's the proposals. Do you agree or disagree? And at the moment, we're saying, well, it's actually not too bad, really. We like reform, but we don't really want to change anything. And we know that this is crap, which is essentially what this is saying. And I don't think that's a robust reply. So I'd definitely get rid of, Madam Chair, this one to say anything to do with alternative models. You either support the model you've got and say, no, we're doing a really good job, but we could do it better. Or alternatively, you say, yeah, let's go for it, guys. But at the moment, we're in a halfway house where we're picking another piece of the Local Government Act and saying, well, if we just did this, things would be better. I think that's illusory.
Actually, we're doing two things already in that first sentence that finishes community. We're saying we don't agree with that the CTB board should be there, and we're saying that it should stay with the regional council councillors, and why. So we're already in that first sentence and encapsulating what we don't like and what the alternative is, isn't it? We've already got the alternative. The alternative is leave us in place.
Yeah, that's right.
So we are implying, not only implying, actually stating the alternative. So we don't, it's not like we need to look for another alternative. We've got the alternative. The alternative to their proposal is leave us in place.
That's correct.
So it doesn't add anything, nothing that they read after that will add anything apart from two sentences which waters down in some respects us saying the clear statement that the alternative we prefer is to be left in place.
Why would we support a Crown Commissioner model that effectively voids every elected member around this council table and employs the Tauranga City Council or ECAN model of management? That's ludicrous. Why would we even think of advertising that to them as an alternative?
Okay, can we,
Sorry.
sorry, Gretchen?
I can hear what Councillor Laws is saying. I think what we discussed as well was that the regional councillors would be left in place for the stage one, which is the, so they'd be managing the regional council, but they wouldn't be doing the task of the reorganisation, which would be a different structure, which, yeah, we talk about that as well later on. And it could be clearer that actually we are thinking about a reorganisation structure, and it could be a board, and it would be not made up of just regional councillors or even perhaps any.
We have already said that.
Yeah.
Further up by
But
saying the
Councillor
regional
Laws says
council,
straight up front,
regional
saying,
council governance functions.
We don't
So
want
that's
to, we
what
don't want to go down.
I
the
hear
road.
what he's saying
Yeah,
is that
When they read
stating that
this-
straight up, it may not be our point. It's the point is that we support something different that's working on the reformation, but we support having regional councillors in place doing regional council business, which isn't the reform perhaps, at least for that stage one, because it's a different role.
Well, that's
You could say
it's
that
made
up front.
clearer if you just use that first sentence,
Yeah.
because it says business as usual, local governance
I agree.
functions, councillors, as our proposal.
This paragraph should stop at the word community.
Okay.
Andrew,
Yeah, all I was going to say was that there's a transitional phase that we're talking about here. This is not we're starting consider it a game of baseball. We're trying to get to base one. We're not looking at the home base at this point. So we've got these other stages to get through. So this is transitional, and I just think I'm not going to argue the Crown Commissioner thing because everyone's got their own independent views. But I think we need to keep it in context of this first stage one, and just focus on what is the best way to encourage the government to set up a structure to get to that point.
right. Matt,
Yeah, I've just been listening and typing away a sentence here. I'm wondering if it adds any value or not. We're sort of saying that rather than suggesting an alternative along those lines, it's acknowledging that the overall direction is to achieve transformation that affects all functions of all local government. We suggest stages that involve regional councillors collaborating with a transitionary authority that brings collaboration and cooperation amongst existing councils. I don't know if that's bland enough or useless enough or points to what's being said or not. I'm just trying to add my thoughts there.
thanks, Matt. I'm wondering whether at this stage we just ask somebody can move, somebody can second if we do have a mover and a seconder, that sentence should stop at the end of community.
So moved.
Seconded.
Right, moved and seconded that paragraph stops at the end of the first sentence at community. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
No.
You didn't.
Division.
The problem is we didn't have time to, because that changes that whole sentence. That whole paragraph. It wouldn't be business as usual, it would be transitional, and we didn't have a chance. Sorry, you didn't ask, does anyone want to speak to that motion? Sorry.
Madam Chair.
No, I didn't, but we can have a division.
Yeah, I just don't think it's clear who voted whichever
Yes,
way.
yes,
It's
yes,
probably-
so
I'm
that's
trying to
fine.
help Kylie here.
Yes.
A division, yes, please.
Approving the sentence.
The removal of place after community.
The
So the
second one.
commission's there.
The
Definitely need to see consent.
Okay, we're ready.
Yes.
Councillor Byers,
Aye.
Councillor Calvert,
Aye.
Councillor Gardner, Councillor Gillespie,
No.
Councillor Hollier,
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
thank you. Councillor Callagher,
Yes.
Councillor Laws,
Yes.
Councillor Malcolm,
No.
Councillor Noon,
No.
Councillor Robertson,
No.
Councillor Somerville,
Yes.
Councillor Wilson.
No.
So we have 2, 5 against and 7 in favour. The motion is carried.
So. We can't change the sentence.
Right, moving along.
Yeah.
Are we still here?
Anyway.
The next,
Sorry, we doing the second part of 2, that's all.
yes,
Oh, sorry, I thought we were just doing that paragraph.
yes.
Sorry, I
yes.
think
Yes.
that's the word after the word national or in the second sentence. We need to say, or for us, a South Island wide process involving the Crown. It doesn't make having South Island wide process for the North Island doesn't help.
That looks like a bit of grammatical thing. Any comments on this?
Sorry, so I just want to get this clear. Are we suggesting that we don't want a regional plan? We want a national or a South Island plan instead? Is that what that means?
No, the process be undertaken by somebody who isn't the CTB.
Right. So we don't trust ourselves to come up with a regional reorganisation plan.
Can I comment on that? That's what we're saying is we are not agreeing with the model that has been given to us, which is the mayors of one region to do that.
I think we may have confused somewhere in the middle of there, the regional reorganisation plans compared with the things that the CTB is generally doing, because this is just talking to the RRPs, which if we stayed there, we would presumably want to be just have us do it, or do we just want to be part of it? Or?
So my understanding is that there was some concern that some boundaries of regional would change, and therefore it had to be higher level than just the regional and territorial councils, so that we could look at a cross-boundary potential, especially in Maitake and potentially in the Southland as well.
Regional and territorial.
And I imagine it's elsewhere in the South Island. This allows for all of the parties to be included
To do it ourselves.
at that level.
It's ridiculous.
Michael,
Listen, again, this is one of those things that brevity would make a great deal more sense. We support the idea of regional organisational plans, but we're just seeking for an alternative body to the CTB. Of course, we are, because we don't believe that the CTB is the way to go. It's not for us, surely, to come up with alternatives, is it? We haven't really. We've just thrown a whole series of names in one sentence and hoped it all makes sense, which is that second sentence. So wouldn't just the brevity be, we strongly recommend the process be undertaken by an alternative body into story.
So just a note, without getting into the content, that's very much up to you, and I don't want to even get into that. The message from DIA when we met with them and
Yep.
Kevin and Hilary were there was, if their view, if we're going to say no, you must put forward an alternate. That was just the advice. That's all all I'll offer.
But you have, by the next sentence reads, there are existing local government reorganisation processes.
Yes. Could be amended.
you're suggesting we take out that now highlighted sentence?
It's just that you've decided to exclude an awful lot of people from being involved in a regional reorganisation plan who should be there. I'm thinking instantly, for example, of groups who would be most affected by a regional reorganisation plan. Landowners, business owners, residents, federated farmers, etc. They aren't there. We've decided to exclude them, iwi Māori and undefined independent experts.
With all respect, that wasn't the case because that sentence then reflects on the local government commission that already exists and just says that you could have some appropriate amendments, which would be timeframes and everything else, that could be used in order to get the reorganisation through in the timeframes, but making sure that those other parties are all included.
It doesn't matter, no one's going to read this anyhow, but I just have to say that you are excluding people who would normally expect to be part of such a process.
Chair, also what we are saying is that it shouldn't be the CTB full stop.
Yeah, correct.
But the CTB is the process or the proposal that the government have made. So then we're making an even bolder statement in that we don't like your proposal. But what if we were to say, undertaking one alternative body to only the CTB? And that would then leave the door open for the CTB and either the current grouping of regional councillors or any other to be a collective party together and not only leave it to the CTB. I'm going to add one word, which is only.
Yes.
Maybe alternative would then be a wider membership than the proposed CTB.
Can I suggest we're trying to create something that doesn't exist. Why don't we in actual fact use the things that do? Surely the people to create a regional reorganisation plan will be the elected officials who live in the region, which is the regional councillors, district councillors and city councillors in Otago. So why wouldn't your RRP be constructed by a concert of the Otago Regional Council, the 3 district councils and the Dunedin City Council?
Alan.
Thanks. I note that this paragraph is largely a summary of our answer to question number 8, which goes into a bit more detail and perhaps clarifies things. The only difference is actually in that summary, the word national seems to have crept in. And I believe that what is down there in number 8 is certainly what came out of the discussions at the workshops. That was the direction that was given through the workshops, which I know is not a decision-making body.
You don't give directions through a workshop.
That's right. That's what was taken from that discussion. So I believe what we've got there in number 8 is good. And if that paragraph we're talking about wants to be summarised in some way, that's fine, and potentially could be left to the discretion of, that was something about minor amendments or addition of minor amendments if required, might be a way to deal with that.
Thank you, Alan. Kevin.
I'm very comfortable with this whole paragraph on 2 fronts. One, it reflects the feeling from the regional sector meetings that we have been having with other chairs of regional councils and their supporters. It reflects what the position of our working group, of our workshop was. And it also goes some way to working with the time that we took with the DIA to understand their thought processes, and which was reinforced again by our CE to give an alternative that that they could look at. If we don't have an alternative as a minister, I would be saying, well, I'll just stick with the others. I've got no viable alternative. The alternative is sound, and this is the governance body to set the regional reorganisation plan into action. It has not precluded anyone being part of that plan. It is simply the body that instigates that plan. We then further go on to say that have that body in place, but use a system which is already in place, which is the local government commission, a process similar to that, and saying, let's put some grunting behind that and make the process work. We're simply saying, so it reflects what others are saying, it reflects what we're trying to say. I'm very comfortable with it.
Neil,
I just want to pick up on Councillor Somerville's point about the answer to question 8. And I can't help but think that gives the substance to what's here in question 2. And I would have thought that for contemplating any change is that as further detailed in the answer to question 8, carry on, because that's effectively what it's summarising, and it sends the reader, the receiver of this information, to actually what our concern is, which I think is more eloquently reflected in question 8.
okay, I'm going to put, Matt,
No, he's not.
No, I'm all good.
I'm going to put this as it is currently described up there, including the yellow button, the red bits and whatever, the whole kit and caboodle, so to speak, and suggest that if people agree that we will do potentially, I can sign off on minor amendments that I undertake to check its consistency with section 8 to make sure that they are a consistent package. So would somebody like to move that as it stands now?
I'll move.
Happy to second.
Move Kate, seconded Kevin. Do we want a division here?
It's just not that important.
No. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right. Number 3. Any comments about what we've put here? Right.
Sorry, because of the changes that we made to an earlier paragraph, I'm just wondering if we need, for consistency's sake, that you've just talked about, you need to take back the fallback position. I didn't necessarily vote for it, but I'm just saying that we've now got an inconsistency in there.
Yeah, you're right. So it's the last sentence of the second paragraph.
Okay. Right.
Is it the last sentence or just the last half?
Last half.
Last half of the last sentence.
Matt,
That's right.
No, I'm all happy with that as it's written there. The only other thing I wondered, and it is addressed in our cover letter, I believe, but in terms of agreeing that we're replacing regional councils with combined territories board, I think, is this also a point, is there any point adding in with regards to the fact that this is going through a transition and for mayors to take on not just the responsibilities of overseeing the business as usual of a regional council, as well as achieving a change in structure, is sort of seems excessive demands being placed on them. Is that suitably covered here, or you just want to leave that reference in the cover letter?
probably in the cover letter, but I go with the flow. No, Alan.
I actually
Thanks,
think
Matt.
that should remain as it is. For 2 reasons. One is that earlier paragraph was sort of the summary, and this is giving our fuller answer. Also, that sentence that we've crossed out there explains our answer in number 4. Otherwise, number 4 is sort of out of the blue. So that's why I would say keep that clause in.
Well, you could argue if you take it out here that will, when we get to number 4, we may have a different answer on number 4 too if we wanted
The
this to
problem
match
with
the
number
earlier
4
one.
is that we don't like any of those answers. So what are we going to do?
Exactly.
Not answer it, maybe.
Just checking whether that's possible.
It's our submission. Any,
We're not obliged to answer any question, so it
We-
doesn't give us another alternative as an answer, but we are not obliged to answer it if we don't want to.
There's no ability within, as I understand it, when you go into the site to put it in, there's no ability to put other in there. So we never, in our workshop, we didn't agree with any of those options.
I'm saying that we can put no answer rather than put other.
we could add a paragraph, couldn't you, somewhere along the line?
Well, you have just up above, you're saying, well, we have up above, that's why we put that paragraph in up above, as councillor Somerville has explained, yeah.
We'll do that.
Well, I'm happy to retract with the retraction, but
Right, looking, yeah.
is this, so is this the paragraph, and I think I'm picking up on something that I think was Ellen said about transitioning. It may also be inconsistent with us doing business as usual, which I don't think is what we will be doing. Necessarily, the fact is that there is quite a lot of change transitioning in the next 2 years to what the new model looks like, rather than all the transition happening after the change has happened. And I think it's that oversight transitioning to the best investment in the next 2 years of ratepayer money that it isn't brought out as to why there has to be more governance now. And that will be lost in a CTB model. Especially with cap and a few other things happening.
I'm going to put 3 as it stands. If somebody would like to
Happy to move.
move, Kevin, seconded, Alan. All those in favour?
Right.
On 3. Carried.
So
Oh, sorry,
that's,
Matt.
isn't that with, as a fallback position, commissioners operating in caretaker capacity was removed?
No.
No.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Matt, did you want to say something? Sorry. Perhaps if you could take your hand down, or is that not your hand?
It's the mute sign.
No. Sorry, it's yellow. Sorry.
Yellow and red.
You're good, Matt. I'll keep an eye
Talk
out.
to the hand.
I'm trying to keep quiet and keep out of the way.
Right, number 4. Do we want Crown Commissioners instead of a CTB? Do we want not to answer the question? Do we want something else? Let's put it then what's been proposed there. Crown Commissioners instead of a CTB, for whatever reason we thought that.
You're joking.
Well, say something, Michael.
Sorry, I mean, you either believe in democracy or you don't. Obviously, if you were to cross that, then you don't believe in democracy at all. At least the mayors are elected by the populations. If they are going to go down that route, which would be stupid, this would be stupid and undemocratic. So why on earth would consent to putting Crown Commissioners in to the regional council or running the region instead of duly elected people, whatever their deficiencies or backgrounds? Just, it strikes me as madness. And we've seen how it failed. Tauranga is a brilliant example.
Helen.
I propose we just don't answer that question.
Yeah.
Moved, Alan, seconded,
Second that.
Andrew, that we do not answer that question. All those in favour?
Aye.
On the contrary, carried. Number 5,
Moved.
Second.
all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
On the contrary, carried. Number 6, comments on number 6. Happy enough?
Happy to move.
Like or disagree.
Seconded.
Okay. Moved by Kate, seconded by Gretchen. If you want to say something, now's the time, Michael.
No, that's fine.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 7. Any issues?
Happy to move.
Moved Andrew, seconded.
Yep. I'll
Robbie.
second it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, is that
Robbie's, yeah.
right? All those in favour? Oh, sorry. Kate?
Sorry, this is an area, I know, I actually appreciate Waitaki, but I think there is another layer to this that is interesting, is the idea that you may have an environmental boundary and you may have a social boundary. And I think that the way we're answering this is limiting a flexibility in a new local government framework that doesn't look at the social demands of an area, say Pomahaka, and there's areas of even the south bits of the Taieri that probably engage better with Clutha and would get services there and be rated for services in Clutha better than they could be in Dunedin. That we should actually say this is an opportunity to really consider how those services are delivered across those existing boundaries in a really radically and much clearer, intuitive way that recognises where the roading network may be is different to the catchments. And I'm just saying that I think we've sold ourselves short in that story and constraining it only to using Waitaki as an example in there. Sorry.
Thank you, Kate. Just I understand the point. I think for me that issue belongs more in that other general feedback in the letter, because the question within this is very specific. But I agree. That conversation was had when we discussed this previously. But I think where we got to is this answer is specific to the question asked, and potentially that other issue around how do you make other considerations of communities of interest and put them in the mix.
Thank you.
Part of the broader letter we put forward. You put forward.
Ellen, no? If there are no other comments, does anyone want to move? Oh, sorry. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Number 8, comments.
Possibly just for consistency, the South Island being for us a South Island by process.
Right, again, I am happy to commit to making this match the earlier one. So it's a bit of consistency, just as a sort of typographical exercise.
Happy to move.
Second.
Moved Kate, seconded Ellen. All those in favour?
Aye.
On the contrary, carried.
So, sorry, does that stay the same as written? Is 8 staying the same as it is written?
Yes,
Thank you.
except insofar as it's a wee bit inconsistent with the earlier one, if it has got a few words that will make match. Nine,
Happy to move.
moved Kate, seconded Neil. That's what you wanted to do, wasn't it, Neil? All those in favour? Against? Carried. 10. In this case, Kevin was communicating with Mr. Tipper and passed on his comments about what they are doing in this space. And Richard has produced this as a summary of the things that he understands we have likely been talking about in our submission. So that's how that came about. Has anybody got any comments?
Yes.
Just number 10.
Okay, sorry, this is us now looking like we support CTVs where everywhere else where it's inconsistent. And the question I've got is it that the Ngā Tahu want to be involved in whatever the mechanism is, as opposed, or is it that they want to be in CTVs? Because that is slightly contrary to what we've said. I absolutely support this. If I want to support Ngā Tahu being involved in both setting the boundaries and setting the what the new form might be. But I'm so opposed to CTVs of any sort that I am finding it very hard to support this motion, only because it looks like it supports them, which is contrary to everything we've said above.
How would you change the words, Kate?
Your
I know
point
how I change
before.
Gary?
We support the position of Ngā Tahu that iwi should have a role in any future mechanism, should one be introduced by government. Take out what was, because the question doesn't ask about CTVs.
Is it a change mechanism that you're supporting?
That's removing Ngā Tahu's position though, which is to be on a board. We can't really do that for them, but
That's what my question was.
yeah,
No, it's almost presumptuous to suggest.
but we could.
Okay, we can say
But mechanism.
It's government.
we support iwi having a role in, whereas we don't have to say it's Ngā Tahu, we just need to say iwi having a role in any future mechanism, change mechanism. Or just even we support Ngā Tahu, if we prefer that,
Can I ask,
having a role in, just as a working, yes, Michael?
have we received any notification as to what Ngā Tahu's response is to this piece of reform mechanism or paper?
Yes,
That's what I said a while ago, that Kevin had received the communication from them.
So where is it, please?
we
Yes.
received it late last night. I could read that out to you. Shall I read it out?
Oh,
Can
could
I-
you
Certainly.
maybe send it?
It is, can we be sent it? I could send it to you.
Who's it been sent by?
By Justin Tipper
Right,
on behalf of Ngā Tahu.
yeah.
And it was sent at, I can't tell you the exact time because of the machine here, late yesterday. You want to adjourn while we do that, Chair?
Well, how long is it? How many pages is it?
Yeah, no, that's.
It's, just a message.
Second,
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it easy enough for you to read
Sounds
out,
good.
Kevin, or do we want to pause for a
It should
moment?
be on the record.
Okay,
I move we adjourn
Yep.
for 5 minutes.
yes,
every second.
seconded by Kate, all those in favour? Carried.
It would have been quite useful.
Okay, we're live again,
Just saying.
unadjourned. The meeting continues. Let's have that. Amanda's going to put it up again, I'm sure. Any comments on that?
So it makes it very hard to, from my point of view, support this particular paragraph, given their support for both Crown Commissioners and direct iwi representation on the CTBs. Now, we could sit here and have a long argument over this for the next hour or two, but wouldn't it be just easier to say they're going to be putting in their own submission and that we value our long-standing relationship with Mana Whenua in our region? And could say that iwi should be consulted on any future reform mechanism and leave it at that.
We could just take out CTBs in the second, but we support the position that the focus should be the development of high quality regional reorganisation plans.
Yep, that would be good.
So just leave,
I think that's a critical part
Yeah.
of that whole.
We could add that as well.
yeah, so how's that? That doesn't talk about anybody supporting CTBs that we're,
Yeah, that's good with me.
okay? Any other comments on that? No, you're moving it then, are you, Michael?
So done, yeah.
Okay. Hey. Were you wanting to second something? Was that what I was hearing?
Thank you. That's what I'm telling him.
Seconded, Gary. All those in favour? On the contrary? Carried. Right, we've come to the end of the
That's exactly what they're saying.
submission. Excuse me.
Oh, give me.
Moving on to the letter. Any comments on the letter? There being none,
Thank you.
Well, you're right.
would-
Thank
would-
you, Mariana.
gentlemen, please. Kate,
In your last paragraph, ORC appreciates the opportunity to provide this submission and looks forward to continued engagement as the reforms progress. This is a submission, I think, to select committee or not, I'm not quite sure. What does, I just want to understand what that would entail or potentially entail.
So it's just a consultation at this point. There is no further process defined. So that's, we don't know what it might look like, but I suppose that just indicates a willingness to be involved in whatever those next steps look like.
In which case I probably word that more strongly and say that we think that it would be beneficial to have engagement to assist developing what the reform progress may look like. To ensure that it is fit for purpose.
I'm happy with what it says. In that I don't think we need to tell what the government what's beneficial to them or not. They can make their own mind up about that. We can tell them our attitude to what they're doing, but I don't think we should be telling them what's good for them. Just my view. Other comments? Everyone happy? Apart from whether you're unhappy about that last.
You can't see him on screen.
Councillor Hoyer.
Sorry.
I'm just noting, just for consistency with our submission, I noticed the paragraph that's a short sentence regarding, says at the very least, the government should provide an expectation that CTBs, because we've included, this is our cover letter, and we've made reference to CTBs in that thing, yet we're trying to ignore reference to the CTBs in the actual response form. I don't know how to rewrite it, but should we just, do we want to remove reference to CTBs?
We can just take out the CTBs, just the reorganisation bodies, provide an expectation that the reorganisation bodies must have cross-boundary discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Any other comments? Would somebody like to move?
Sorry.
Or you?
I'm going to be petulant and try once more to get you to a different point. I would still think that we are we should be offering to help and facilitate help any process to get a better structure for both transition and regional reorganisation, and so that we are happy to assist in that process, whether it's beneficial to them. That is where the import of what I was trying to change before.
We could say we welcome the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
To continued engagement or, yeah.
We have that already, don't we, under paragraph 4?
Opportunities or opportunities? Welcome the opportunity.
Nothing wrong with reminding them that they should be listening to us at some level.
No.
Or they might benefit from it or not. Is there any reason why we shouldn't bookend the beginning and end of it?
Can I ask a question, please?
Excuse me, Michael?
So this is just going through the submission process and what the final words are. Are you intending then to go back and pass each of these with the motions that are proposed at the start of this paper?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
If we're happy about that, we did have a mover and seconder. Who was it?
If you haven't, I'm happy to support.
Moved Kevin, seconded Kate. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Right, now as Michael says, I think the neatest thing at this point would be to, well, actually, we were split 7-5. Maybe what we, yeah.
That was passed, we've made the change, just.
Yes, no, I'm just thinking that I don't want anybody to vote against it just because one little bit was not to their satisfaction.
That's their decision to make.
That's their decision.
Okay, yes, well, yeah. Okay, so we've got a document, a submission document and a letter. Would somebody like to move that these be our submission with the accompanying letter, subject to minor alterations of a typographical nature of, which is what's in our.
So is this 1, 2, 3
Yes.
recommendations on the paper there?
Yes. Yes,
Clarifying that.
certainly. Moved, Kate, seconded. Alan, all those in favour?
May I speak?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, yes, you may.
Thank you. Look, we've had plenty of discussion on this, and it's good to see a wide amount of agreement around our council table, and by the sound of it, around other councils around New Zealand. A wide acceptance that really there is need for change in local government, but this is not the right way to go about it. And I'd really like to see the Otago Regional Council moving proactively on this by talking with other organisations we're involved with, the other cross-council organisations that we're involved with, for instance, to move this along and get that communication going with fellow councils and other bodies, particularly throughout the South Island. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Michael?
I just need to remind everybody that essentially this is a white paper that we're making submissions to today. So really what we're doing isn't likely to have an enormous amount of impact in any quarter at all in future government policy. The next step now is for legislation to be introduced into Parliament, presumably by the Minister of Local Government. Then there will be a select committee process. And the indications are currently from Minister Chris Bishop that that process will not be complete before the election, and that legislation will finally be passed through its final stages after the election. So we have a second go at this, which is the select committee procedure, when we'll make a more considered submission because we'll know the legislation to which we are responding and the final proposal that has been settled by the government. I've had one chance to have a say or to construct a conversation with my colleagues on this, and that was on the 14th of January. And since the 14th of January, I've fundamentally changed my view on what is needed from this council in response to this particular agenda that has been set by the government. My view is now that this simplifying local government proposal simply does not go far enough, and that it is already in the government's mind historic. Because the reaction that the government has received to this is you actually need to go a lot further in this area, be a lot more radical, a lot less timid in the reforms that you're proposing for local government. And that's the area that I've reached now too. If I was to start this conversation all over again, I would say that we only need one regional government for Otago, one regional unitary authority, and that the model already exists in New Zealand for that structure. It is Auckland, which had its own piece of legislation, I think, in 2009, and that if they are going to simplify local government, then that is the model already in place that should be achieved. When you look at this proposal, it makes no sense. It's poorly written. It's been drafted by bureaucrats that either went to AI to draft it when it was going through a hallucination phase, or alternatively, haven't passed their NCA literacy test. Can I give you an example? In the press release, it's about getting rid of regional councils, but in the simplifying local government strategy paper that we've been asked to respond to, it's about getting rid of local council, regional council laws. For God's sake, make up your mind. Which is it? And then if the argument is, and it is, we want to simplify local government to lead to greater efficiencies and simplicity, then why the hell did you come up with this model, which simply creates another level of bureaucracy and gives a whole series of people, in this particular case, mayors, a responsibility for which they are not only ill-suited, but weren't prepared, and if given the chance, decided not to involve themselves in, because they stood for the territorial authority, not for their regional council, to get involved in these kinds of decisions. Which is why I believe that we need to be much more radical when it comes to the select committee procedure. If you're really out to reform local government, and we've shied away from that issue today, are we simplifying it? Are we reforming it? Fair enough too, that we are doing what we've been asked to do. But really, this is about reform of local government. Getting rid of us is not going to make anything more effective or efficient. Getting rid of regional councils may, but not if the same bureaucrats go into the same roles, run by the same organisations, when TAs, territorial authorities, are a disaster. Look at the raw sewage being dispensed currently outside the Moa Point sewage treatment. That's the Wellington City Council in operation. Look at the Christchurch City Council and the fact that they've contaminated an entire suburb called Bromley because they can't run their own wastewater treatment plants. Look at the TAs here and how they run themselves, and now we're going to put those people in charge of somehow making a regional resource plan or a regional plan for us that is meant to make things more efficient, effective, simpler, and more able. Bugger off. It's not going to happen. For that reason, Madam Chair, can I just say, I want to indicate to us that we need to go back to this issue and we need to start to address it much more intellectually, much more politically when we've seen the legislation. And I urge us all to start making contact now with all the political parties on this particular issue as soon as we can, to at least appraise them before they make policy that seems so seemingly contradictory.
Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
Richard.
I just wanted to thank everyone again for the process that we had, where we are quite aligned on what we wanted to say, and also to Alan for saying that we need to start a conversation with the other councils and with other key players. To Michael as well, you actually made a heap of sense in what you were saying there. I agree with a lot of what you said there. And again, that comes back to we've actually got a lot of unity here and a lot of common sense and a lot of experience around this table. And we do need to raise our voices. We need to be speaking out and we need to be speaking to each other as well. Michael says we won't have an impact, but we will have an impact if we have the people of Otago behind us on some of this. And as Michael says, some of this just clearly does not make sense at the moment. So we need to be saying where that is and where it isn't. He said at that point that we need to actually be thinking at a regional scale, and we need to be thinking long term, and we need to be thinking beyond our own little neighbourhoods, townships, and thinking with real vision. Agree with that. I think simplification here actually risks fragmentation. Many people mistake this proposal with one to remove regional councils. It isn't to remove regional councils, it's to remove regional councillors. And as he said, replace it with mayors to look after the regional council and to make the decisions themselves, come up with an idea on what governance should look like for Otago going forward. And I think probably most of Otago would think that would look like a coastal unitary and an inland unitary. We don't know though, but that's the feel. That then starts to fragment catchments. The Clutha, largest river in New Zealand by volume, a massive beast to try and manage. But so important when you've got townships on the bank, you've got production, you've got dams, you need to manage that as one entity. It does not make sense to fragment, it does not make sense to duplicate technical experts in a whole lot of little pockets of designed, bespoke, new setups. We need to look at this bigger, regional scale, whatever that looks like. The boundaries may be different. We need something that is like that. And we need to be talking and working that out, because what we've got going on at the moment doesn't work either. So we all agree on that. And we actually want to have a really positive partnership with the Crown. We're definitely not the enemy on this one. We are the solution and we need to be working together. We all want change and we need to be voicing that for our people. So yeah, thank you.
Gary.
Thank you. I agree with pretty much all the comments being made, except that I think the government were quite clear. I got what the government was saying. There is too much local and regional government in New Zealand at the moment. Mm-hmm. Remove regional council is just the first step, then change regional councils into something new is the step that follows that. What they have said though is that they don't have confidence in regional councils as they currently are to take on that step. And I think the previous council of this council played a big part in the loss of government confidence in the ability to do that. So what this council has to be able to do, and everything it does now in the very near future, is regain that confidence of central government that if regional councillors here and representing our communities are to play a part in the new local government, then we can do, and we will do it to the best of our ability to get to where the government want us to be. And that is a far more efficient local government that encompasses everything in one space, as opposed to the double up that we've been involving in of late in the last decade. So we have a lot to do to convince the government of that, our ability to do that into the future. Thank you.
Neil,
I might as well jump on the man running. I think that the basic premise that we've got is it's about simplifying something that you can't make simple. No matter how you try, you're not going to make local government simple, because governance is not simple in the first place. The most important thing for me going forward, whatever the process is, whatever the government process is, whatever they change to do, what they listen to, what they don't listen to, it's really important that we know how we got here. The sector knows how it got here. The sector's been saying for some time, we need to get out of here and get better at what we're doing. And there's whole lots of different ways of for want of a better word, skinning the cat to bring that about. And we're in the process of being part of that involvement, if you like, what it is. What I think is the most important thing is that we don't need to focus on what might have been done wrong and by who in the past and what their current abilities might or might not be. It's about working together collaboratively to work to a better future. And that's what we got elected to do in the first place. And how we might have performed previously, or how TAs are performing, could perform, whatever is irrelevant. But the sector itself has got to work collaboratively to get the best outcome for the people that we represent. And if we get there, we'll be a whole lot better off. And I'm pretty confident around this time we're going to work our butts off to do what we can towards that. And others will have a louder say than us, but we'll do our best to make sure we get there. And that's what I look forward to be part of. And I think we're partway there today with what we've done. Michael, you're right. The landscape's going to change, and we'll be doing something different in 6 months' time, but we deal with the cards we're dealt with. Thank you.
Andrew.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I certainly support what the government are trying to achieve. Efficiency, effectiveness, value for money for our ratepayers, and keeping in mind that there is still a cost of living crisis impacting on a big percentage of the population. But I just want to take this opportunity to reach out to the mayors of Otago, and obviously our submission is critical of the CTB. It's not their fault. It's not the mayor's fault that they've been asked to do this. But I just want to say that although we strongly oppose the CTBs, we are very keen to work collaboratively with our mayors. And earlier in the workshop, someone made the point where all the mayors have been elected for the first time, although one spent a period of time because the previous CODC mayor had stepped aside. So I think that's a really important message to the region, to ensure that, we are, as others have said, we want to do the best thing for the region. And this will be a long process, and I think there are many that can contribute to it to ensure that we land in a place that we're comfortable with, and that our regional ratepayers and householders can live with as well.
From my perspective, the important thing for us to do going forwards is to focus on understanding and delivering what we know our regional council should be doing according to the focus and important areas that we need to be thinking about and carrying out, and showing the government and others what we can achieve and what we understand we should be achieving. Collaboration with others around about will be very important. And as we focus on our areas that we think we should be achieving and doing in the next couple of years. Others around the place in central Waitaki, Queenstown Lakes, Clutha and Dunedin will also, I would guess, be thinking in their councils through what is important for them to show that they should be doing. So whoever ends up doing business of local government in Otago can see clearly what both the regional council and the territorial authorities in our area can contribute. And that will, those activities and obligations, duties will be in the mix for the future. So I see collaboration being very important with TAs in our area to achieve what they think they can do best, and we doing what we can do best, and where we can collaborate with them. What's going to be very important to them and us is that we can show that we can work together for the good of all of our Otago and possibly slightly on either side of us regions. So I'm looking forward to being able to show that and to concentrate on making it clear to the government, who probably has about the attention span of a maximum A4 page, why it's important that we do what we do and what we can do to assist the transition.
Ready for a poll?
Kate moved it.
Sorry, it's Kevin at Ellen.
Kevin, and yes, so
It's Kevin speaking, sorry.
yes, so Kevin, is this your
Am I rounding up or is?
this your right of reply?
Yeah, I haven't talked yet.
I moved, so I get the right to reply at the end.
Oh, yes,
Sorry.
so I'm just saying, is it the two
I
of
need to
you?
talk, yeah.
Kevin,
Ellen seconded.
The last triennium, we upset a couple of really important people called Mr. Shane Jones and Penny Simmons, Minister Simmons. It wasn't just ORC, it was quite a few. We have regional councils are a very simple target for government to say, here's the start of a process. I think if you look past that, they are actually starting a process that is long overdue and needs to happen. With what we have presented in front of us, it's absolutely critical that we are in the zone talking to these people and letting them know our opinions. And we're in that process. And this submission is just another part of that process. Whether you call it a combined territories board or whatever you call it, that group has to be the right people. They have to have the right mindset, and they need to be there to ensure that they're going to remove the complexities, remove the duplication, and reduce costs in local government. It's simple. Have a look at it. There's the Waitaki River. For some reason, a chunk got flown up to ECAN to get some rates out of them, and the rest stayed with Otago. Is that the best environmental position? Is that the best social position? So to me, when we look at this at the CTBs and we look at doing our regional reorganisation plan, we must be looking across boundaries, and we must be looking as wide as possible to ensure that the result we get is the right enduring result for local government for many years to come. It is too narrow to just say, look at Otago. We need to look at the South Island needs to look at itself. The right time to do it, but let's keep chatting to people and lobbying to ensure that whatever board is formed, there's two distinct parts to it. The regional council functions need to be left alone to carry on. The reorganisation plan needs to be the forte, the prime focus of the combined territories board, whatever they want to call it. But on that, we must have the right people with the right mindset and the understanding of our areas. Pretty simple.
thank you, Kevin. Right of reply from Kate.
Thank you. Interesting matters, and it's a pity that our letter doesn't or we haven't had the opportunity in our submission to cover all of the points that have been raised around this table, which again, we're almost in consensus with, but we've given the brief 1 A4 page for the short-term memory or attention span, apparently, of MPs or ministers. I'm not sure that I share that view. I think that this is a start. I think that if we want to be the best regional council and using the collective wealth of knowledge around this table, and I look around here and see 6 people who've served both at TA and regional council level at least, some also as MPs. What a wealth of information could be coming out of us to do so much more than just respond to a survey question. What I think we've set ourselves up poorly to do, and maybe I should have moved an alternative motion, is to have a constructive, proactive representatives, and I appreciate that is being done by the chair and deputy to an extent, but actually driving what the reform looks like. Saying who is on the CTB is the easy part. Saying where the reform is and where the real cost savings, like having a 4-year term or different planning frameworks which stop us wasting so much money and time every year on annual plans or things like that, are much harder questions that we haven't even started scratching the surface of. So I'm frustrated that we're not doing more in this submission and actually driving what a good looking proposal for Otago and our hinterland it would be, while still ensuring a voice for all of those communities. This is all about centralisation at the moment, which has a huge potential to reduce a political voice in areas that are really heavy lifters in driving our economic wealth. And that really concerns me. I will be supporting this motion when it is voted on. It's not particularly hard to vote on. I just wish that we were doing a lot more to drive what that change would look like, whether it's an Auckland model, whether it's a unitary council. It certainly can't be 17 different ones going forward, and that's what the problem with the CTB model is in part. We need to sit down and work out what would look amazing for our communities and serve our both social and environmental needs of our communities. I don't think we've done that justice around this table yet.
Right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Moving on to 6.2. As a draft submission, as a late document circulated separately.
Can I just ensure that people know that there's another paragraph that's in it by me?
Right, Kate, if you'd like to join them.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Likewise, for this paper, the draft submission, while it says it's authored by Tom Furr and Warren, is actually, I understand, an intention to capture the views that they've received and in conjunction with our 2 leads, portfolio leads of the council views up until now, as far as they can understand. So I'm just making a comment that this is not put forward by the people described as authors. It is our document and it's their intent to capture our views. We're being encouraged to, I'll leave it to Kate to go ahead with this next bit.
Well, thank you. This is, we've got the document that was circulated late and is on diligent, but not under the council paper. And we've also got an email from Anita that deals with the covenant issue. I've done some minor adjustments to that to ensure that it doesn't affect necessarily every covenant. But that's up for a suggestion to be put in somewhere along the way. The submission, this has been circulated and I think encouraged to any feedback. The question is whether we could do it by paragraph. It's certainly, I mean, I'd just like to thank the staff for picking up all of the a huge range of matters that were covered off at the workshop and in a very good way, because it was a complicated beast. Do you want to deal with it paragraph by paragraph, Chair, or I think it's
I'm
probably
wondering whether
page by page almost.
page by page.
I appreciate that 22. I think there are, and I welcome the fact that the staff have gone through and highlighted areas where they're not 100% convinced that they've got a solution from us, or whether there may be some discussion to be had. You may want to focus on that, and I've certainly got some questions just to check, but I'll let you lead that.
So, if I can just help, Fleur is going to join the meeting and share on screen, much as the way that the last item was just done. We have identified a number of typos that we will correct, just and matters of clarification. And then I have got separately the point about the covenant with Kate's tracked changes into it as well that we'll share. I'll track them in and we'll share that after we've gone through the main body of the submission. But yeah, we're in your hands as your submission.
Kate, is this when you, is this first page an introduction to the paper, or is it part of the submission?
The first page, that is the submission. Sorry, you're talking, I'm not seeing what you're saying, sorry, I haven't got two screens. That is the letter to the select committee. That is the first page of the submission. Sorry, that is the first page of the submission. The actual submission starts at paragraph 1. Again, it's the introduction and the way that we've laid it out, because there are points on the planning bill, the natural environment bill. It's a joint submission. Sorry, it's a submission on 2 bills, and then on the other matters that came up. So yeah, I'm happy to take the first page as acceptable right down to that, as if that makes it easier, this introduction.
Yeah, I think the going through page by page will be challenging. The critical parts for staff and for us to be able to put forward a submission on behalf of governors, because it is your submission, are the sections in yellow where we didn't get absolute clarity from the previous work around where you wanted to land in terms of the submission. My recommendation would be go through and just deal with those, and then take any other questions that councillors have top of mind following your review of this document once it was shared. That will, because I think even those questions and the discussions they will generate will actually fill up a fair bit of time. And then there might be other matters once those outstanding ones are resolved that there can be general questions about.
Okay, well, so if we go to 1, there's 1.1 in iwi involvement. And I think for consistency, there's an issue here about, I think we've said at a higher level that we wanted iwi involved in the planning documents and therefore less involved at consent stages. I think that's where we were going, and I'm not sure that this does that justice, but it would be more consistent with comments we've made later on, I think.
Is that intended 1.1 to, is it just raising an issue, or is it intended to be a statement?
This is literally just a heading.
Yeah.
And we've not provided any direction at all on what you want to say, and we're looking for what it is you'd like to say in relation to iwi involvement in planning and or consenting processes. It's entirely up to you.
No, this is the email that's in diligent. So it's the actual submission document, which
Are you diligent?
Mum and diligent.
You can go in.
There is an attachment to the paper that sets out some of the feedback that we've got through Te Rapa Taio. That major submission points that we're going to make. So that is one place that you can start with to find submission points on this. You can stay silent or you can do something else.
What's that number 7?
That's paragraph 7. It's the paragraphs have been numbered to make it easier to refer.
In between the
Yeah,
other numbers.
the points are, the subject sections, yeah.
Okay.
Can I suggest that we get to the bottom, because I think it's cross-referenced later on and it may give more consistency if we leave that one and come back to it. And we may want to put it to the end anyway.
Okay. Okay, well, let's move on then to following our chief executive's advice. The 30, I've got in 35, 36, yes.
36, 37?
30, yeah, 36, 37 is green, not yellow in mine, but I'm presuming that's the.
Yeah, so this is one where there were two slightly different points of view. So we're just looking for your direction from the table on whether you have a preference, whether you want us to combine them, whether you want to say what you want to say in this respect, basically. So the green ones are where we've drafted 2 options for you based on what we thought we heard.
Neil, would you like to comment on those since you're the other half of the length?
Yeah, I think it's one of those tough ones. It's going to be a whole lot of councils in some form reinventing wheels, and all making the same mistakes or all getting it 100% correct. And I think the latter of them will not be what happens. So you can go ahead and everyone does their own thing, or you can say, let's get a couple each way to see how it turns out. The rest take their lead from that. I can't help but think, having been involved in the original plans way back with the RMA come in, that probably paragraph 37 is a good option to take forward. I can't say it's going to be any better or worse because I honestly don't know, but I think knowing what happened with 36, 37 would, I think, be a realistic way to go forward.
Thank you, Kim.
Comfortable with that concept, but how would you see, what relief would we as a councillor or ratepayers, how do we get relief for them on conditions that are going to be changed? So length of tenure of consents and all that sort of stuff. If in fact if I have to come up within, say, 2 years' time, and you've got something that's going to happen, how would we get around that?
I'd
the interim phase, yeah.
I'd expect there to be some transitional rules put in place as part of the process, as there was in the reforms of 89-90.
Yep.
That'll put some traditional stuff in that will deal with those issues, just like they've done now with the halfway house. That's what I hope would happen.
Michael.
I've heard the government repeatedly, and ministers over the last couple of months, talk about how ridiculous, one of the reasons they require reform is because there are different rules and different TAs in different regions. So if the aim is for a uniformity across and a lot less plans across the country, why would you try and set up some councils to have different rules and plans than others just because they're ahead of the process?
This wasn't about the different rules of processes. This is at timing so that the staff and the ability to ensure that the processes work are tested, that we're not all making the same mistakes. But also, if you look at the number of consultants that are available to do all of this stuff.
But that would still mean that the adaptation or the adoption of plans in particular regions would be out of sync and sequence, wouldn't it?
It would stage the development of the plans through the country so that the capacity and the resources are available.
Yeah.
The technical capacity, instead of BFLM having, for example, as an example, having 17 different plans to submit on at once, they can stage those resources over some time.
But that again means that there'll be a different rules and different.
No, because it's going to be set from above.
The national direction will be there.
Yeah.
Setting all of that.
So yes, okay, so but that's no different than fresh water. But what you're suggesting here is that different regions will sequence them differently with proposed processes, timeframes, templates, digital systems, and everything like that. Is it not correct?
So what this paragraph was attempting to capture was rather than all councils implementing the new legislation at the same time, which
Yes.
will result in similar outcomes, that we take a couple, do a couple, learn from implementing it because it will be new systems.
But that's
not
exactly the point that
different
I'm making.
systems.
You're still going to find some regions have different procedures and processes in line than others because you've got 2 or in this particular case 4 lead councils.
So we understand that this will all be centralised and standardised.
Well, if it is, why do we need to?
But we don't, the conversation at the workshop around this was that there's going to be a whole lot of councils doing the same thing at the same time, and it will test resources across the system. And rather than us all getting it wrong because we didn't understand a thing, that we let a couple go, come back, and then and so it gets more straightforward as you go through. But that was just the discussion around the table.
And further, that paragraph 34 sort of sets that scenario out, saying if everybody does it all at once, not the physical capability and resources to do it all at once, it just doesn't exist. We've only got so many landscape people, so many other people.
And commissioners.
That work it through.
But we're assuming that the same systems will operate just with a different piece of legislation, aren't we?
No, that's not. the
No,
assumption.
we're not exactly. Well, but it's not going. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Gretchen,
I think we made the point that it should be simple and that the first generation one should basically, well, not basically, but would be more of a cut and paste of what we've got at the moment, and they'll be really straightforward and standardised. So I can't really see that you wouldn't have the resourcing to do it, given that we have all got planners and lawyers and everything in each region. The government doesn't want it to be so complicated that we need to bring in 10 lawyers from Auckland and they're all the same ones. I can see that there would be perhaps national experts, etc., that would need to be involved in all of them at once across the country, and that would be challenging. But if we're to wait for 15 years, because we were right down the line and when our plan was, staged, I don't think that would be an advantage either.
So if we do them all, the contra to that, I suppose, is yes, we may have the resources internally, but will government, who has, my understanding, can audit these at the end of the day, if all 17 or how many number of regions send them all in at the same time, how does that fit in? So it's,
You could flag it another way. You could just flag the issue or the concern and let them work it out, rather than suggesting a solution.
And that's probably paragraph 36, is it?
It's probably taking the boat out, to be honest.
I like 36.
I mean, you're flagging the issue. You're concerned about resources being available. You guys work it out in the amendment or the legislation when you consider it select committee.
if we had 36 but took out the stages, for example, and provided in the bills that, I don't know what the word might be, plan development processes across the country that supports plan development processes across the country and provides realistic engagement opportunities.
You could just simply, this way you could simply say an implementation approach is provided in the bills that enables processes across the country and provides realistic engagement opportunity.
Something about it not being overly onerous to generate one of these things.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good.
Let them work it out, for God's sake.
Them who wanted us to do it all simply, they can set up the simple framework.
Okay,
Are
so
we-
36? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, 36.
Kate, Chair, I just wonder if you could add under provides realistic resourcing and engagement opportunities. That's what the next one goes into, doesn't it?
I don't know that we need, we've got, all councils have planning resources coming out our ears or something, or have had in the past.
It's not my experience.
So I'm just conscious that we've got a number of these to get
Yes.
through, and it's important we reflect the view of the table but also move on. We've got to submit on Friday, so we will be working with Kate and Neil and subsequently Hillary and Kevin after this conversation just to refine it. I think we've got the gist. 36 with a bit of a tweaking to ensure that we're talking about capacity, and actually this is a problem we've highlighted. Make sure you sort it out select committee, we can do that, and then that'll be the final word.
Can I just add realistic timeframes? There needs to be something in there because that, when we had the discussion at a workshop, that's not a decision-making place. The timeframes was a real concern.
Okay, so we're focusing on 36, much the same as what we've got there. Moving to 52.
Fast track.
Can we actually combine these? I thought if we, if the ORC, if you take 53 and say ORC considers that fast track process should be narrowed, and then you can actually combine those. It makes some sense with.
What you support it, but you want to narrow it.
Narrow it down so that it aligns with the objectives of the relevant spatial plans or provide critical infrastructure. So it's limited to you narrow it down and provide for it for projects where they align with the objectives of relevant spatial plans or provide critical infrastructure as it
Well, I
enables.
think the whole point of the fast track process is to do things that aren't in alignment necessarily with the other procedures, and if they were simply in alignment, they should happen pretty fast anyway. So I think they would just go whatever. Kevin?
Process should not undermine.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't know where you're at.
Oh, so go on 53.
Yeah.
Considers that the fast track process should not undermine the effectiveness.
No, but what that does is give primacy to a regional plan over fast track national legislation. The Fast Track Approvals Act doesn't just have a process, it also has a philosophy that drives it as well, which has got to be considered by the panels appointed by the EPA when they approve or disapprove a particular project or set conditions. I don't think it's realistic for us to say, excuse me, but the fast track approval process should be sequential upon a regional plan that we've set up or any other council set up or a TA in this particular case as well. I would get rid of both of them, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay, Kevin, then Gretchen, then Neil.
My only counter to that would be that it is my understanding that the government will have the final say of our regional spatial plan anyway, and they have to sign it off at the end of the day. So if they've signed it off, they'll only be signing it off if they see that it will meet their requirements.
There's always going to be a conflict or a potential.
Gretchen.
I think the 53 ORC considers fast track should be removed or narrowed, except worded a different way, because I think if the government was creating a really clear new national direction, the things that are important that are being fast tracked should be covered there. It should be efficient and effective to go through the system, if they've designed a good new system. Otherwise, they've failed. So I think that fast track shouldn't be needed in the future if they're able to outline in some of their documents, like, I don't know, renewable energy or anything else like that, that they're actually providing national direction on. It should be there. That's my view.
Neil.
And I think with what Gretchen just said, makes me more convinced that 52 is the right way to go. Says it supports the fast track process, and if those spatial plans and other things align with what government wants anyway, because of their role in it, then 52 would cover it. And because I think, picking up what Michael was saying, telling them to get rid of it, well, that's not going to work, is it? It's here. So I think 52 is a better way to work it through. I think the way it's worded is going to get us there.
Okay, I've got a suggestion. I'm going to ask for a quick show of hands for who thinks that the government should be allowed to have a fast track process and who doesn't. But I'm telling you the context I'm putting that in, which is that I would like to go down a track of saying we have various views around this table, some supporting the fast track process and some saying that it should be limited in the following ways. So that's where I'm going with this, if we have a split view around the table. Having said that, hands up for anybody who thinks that the government should be allowed to have a fast track process.
May I speak to that, though?
Certainly can, Owen.
I have no objection to a fast track process. I do have an objection to the current fast track process. So it depends how we word that. And I also think it is really important, because the proposed legislation puts such a lot of emphasis on the new spatial plans, that fast track process must align, must not be able to go outside or undermine the effectiveness of those plans. So that may somehow be combining both of those ideas. I'm not sure.
I think we do need to, I don't think it's going to be one outcome. We're going to have to say, around this table, we've got views both for the continuing the fast track process and for suggesting it be renewed or narrowed.
Chair, I just wonder if I could test that by moving 52 and removing 53, not 33, 53. Take out 53 and just leave in 52.
I'm happy to second that with the addition of adding or supporting a national direction in there.
So it's a second part.
Of relevant spatial plans or providing critical infrastructure or supporting a national direction.
Can I just ask of the mover, Madam Chair? Sorry, haven't you in 50 asked them to sort it out?
Put your microphone on, please,
Sorry.
Michael.
In clause 50 above, haven't you asked them to sort it out? It's a sort of a repeat of the same issue that we've just discussed. So, like, why do we have to go into this detail now, whether we support or oppose?
The submission is written in a way that we raise the issue, and that's what's done in 50, and in 52 here, but it should be 51, is, and right throughout the process, we've given a decision requested. So it's submission and then the decision.
But we've imposed that decision requested ourselves, yeah?
Yes, so that is just the way that we've formatted.
Yeah,
the
that's right.
submission.
Right,
Okay.
Kevin has moved this, has he seconded it?
I seconded it.
Seconded by Kate with that. As the mover, Kevin, happy to have that addition?
I don't actually understand the addition, so I'm not. And I don't want to confuse it.
Are you saying a national policy statement when you talk about national direction?
So the
Supporting
under the
national
legislation,
direction.
there is going to be one piece of national direction.
Yeah.
So it's a new
Has to be
issue
anyway.
that's been
Okay,
introduced.
that's
Yeah,
effectively.
yeah.
Does that clarify, Kevin?
Yes, comfortable.
Right.
Sorry, Kate.
I
You
guess
have a mover and a second that Alan would like to speak to.
I haven't seconded. I'm just wondering
No,
if
I'm
there's
saying
one
Kate's
other
seconded
word.
it.
Oh, right.
So you
I
can speak
could
to it.
support this if it said and instead of or. where they align with the objectives of relevant spatial plans and provide critical infrastructure or supporting national instruments. But I don't think I can support that with the or.
Okay, that fundamentally alters
It does.
it.
Yes, it does. You've got a list. You're right.
Mover and seconder happy with what they started with or want to add
Let's get on.
No, I mean, is this,
any others?
Comment?
Andrew,
I would have thought that legislation would trump, no, not a good word.
Yes.
The hierarchy would
I agree.
be clearly the legislation rather than the regional spatial plan.
Yeah.
Just say.
That's without saying, yeah.
yeah,
right, no further speakers, All those in favour of 52,
Aye.
I,
on the contrary,
No,
do you want division or are you just,
Could record it.
yeah, record it. Sounds fine. Thank you.
I think recorded Gretchen and Alan. Right, moving on. 68. And 69 and 70 and 71.
So I don't know if this will be helpful or not, but I'm going to try. So what we heard at the workshop was that there was some support for the improved clarity that was in the reform, and there was some support for having a bottom line like the existing bottom line, which is to maintain and enhance or improve. So the two things aren't necessarily different, but they were not exactly the same. So again, we've given you, I guess, a more straightforward option in 67, or the slightly more expanded one, which includes the bottom line in 69.
Does 71, when it says maintain or improve, and I don't know where it fits in, does that allow for maintain or improve in an overall sense? By which I mean that if you get a situation like McRae's, where they're saying, I might be doing some harm here, but I'm doing at least as much good over there, will that be all right? Does that allow for that sort of trade-off sort of situation, or does it not?
Yeah, so if you look at the consenting framework that's in the new bill, it allows for avoid, remedy, mitigate, offset, or compensate, which is the situation that you're setting out. So not necessarily through here, but through another mechanism in the consent.
So that would cover that.
aspect, it would.
Kevin, then Michael.
So we've been living in this environment for 600 odd years, and we have changed it. We have modified that environment. What do you mean by demonstrably protective of the intrinsic value of the natural environment? Is that the environment as at today, or the environment it was pre-human occupation?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure who exactly
Well,
right.
it's
Take me a few days.
It just says maintain or improve environmental health, so it's the state today.
No, it says protected of the intrinsic value of the natural
Yeah, but-
environment.
I think intrinsic value would probably go. Just say maintain or improve environmental health. I mean, yeah, it's pretty
It's
clear
your
up there.
submission. That's, we can cut whatever you like in or out. But I couldn't give you.
You could
any
take the
suggestion on
whole
what
that way,
means.
the new system, that whole sentence out, which doesn't seem to clarify anything to me.
So this was a discussion between, Alan raised it, and I think Gretchen said, but it is covered already in the purpose. I think, or somewhere in there.
That was councillor Noon and councillor Somerville that discussed these points. approximately.
Happy to make a comment, Madam Chair.
Yes, if you'd like to, and could your comment address could we get rid of the whole sentence that starts that way,
The main thrust of the new legislation is about enabling the use of resources, land development, etc. So I would be loath to put something in there that doesn't at least align with what the central government are trying to achieve. They're not promoting raping and pillaging the natural environment because the standards, the national standards, is the fallback position. Well, not fallback. The national standards will be the national standards. And there's also a mechanism there around if there is a degradation of natural environment in the wider sense, that needs to be dealt with to bring it back at least to where it was. So that's already in the legislation. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm happy really with not delving into the space at all and leaving it as stated in the just saying. Probably saying nothing actually.
68 and 69?
Yes, sorry. Yep.
Move that way.
And I'll be happy to move that way.
I'll second.
69.
Okay, 68 and 69, but not 70 and 71.
Correct.
Is that your moving and seconding? And Alan would like to speak to it.
I'd like to speak. Well, I was about to say, let's go for 70 and 71. I think it's really important that we do include a bit about maintain or improve environmental health. So my proposal, if this first one fails, will be suggest 70 and 71, but have in there in the middle of 70, seeks to maintain or improve environmental health, full stop. Well, remove the no overall degradation, which allows for this sort of balancing up, destroy over here, try and replant over here. I'm happy with 70 to 71 rather, to say retain the bill's enabling framework. Yeah, okay. While providing for a clear environmental bottom line, such as maintain or improve, full stop. I think as a council, as an agency who is mostly about environmental management, and I believe that has got to be about environmental protection. And unless we have that there, we are in danger of going down a very, very bad track in this country. So I will oppose 68 and 69.
Any further speakers? Michael.
Just to make it very clear and to add to what Andrew said, clauses 70 and 71 contradict, in actual fact, the purpose of the bill in toto, which is to enable the development of land. And if I could take you to the goals of the legislation under, I think, section 11, they also make it very clear that the environment is not going to be raped, pillaged and destroyed as a consequence of this piece of legislation. It is still going to be protected. But what Alan is seeking, and others possibly, is to create something that cuts across the enabling framework that the legislation has been introduced effectively for.
Right, now that was moved by Andrew and seconded by Michael. Was it?
Yes, correct.
Yes. Andrew, your right of reply.
Just on Alan's point, I think if the environmental limits are breached, essentially, whoever was responsible for that would be breaking the law. That's all.
Right. 68 and 69.
I think he's got his hand up.
Please.
Sorry?
Matt, I think may have his hand up.
Just a thought, is there a way to write it when it says in 68 ORC generally supports retaining the finishing off that, combining those two sentences, but also notes, and then have a second line with that sort of, you're entering into this process. Let's recall, Hilary, you mentioning that we were going to try and capture everything under consensus, but also noting remarks from those that had a differing opinion to the majority. So I just wonder if there's a way you can say, OIC generally supports retaining whatever it says there, but also notes some concerns with regards to the general protections of the natural environment. Is that something that creates a halfway house that still is a submission that's, captures sentiment suitably?
Fleur is nodding.
I would prefer if we were going down that route, and I thanks, Matt, for your attempt to moderate those two. I would prefer it to say the majority of the ORC supports, because that gives a flavour of it wasn't everyone.
Yeah, I think that's respectful if we can capture both sentiments, because this is not trying to be binary. This is trying to capture as much sentiments in as many ways as possible, and that was the process that I understood from the get go.
But taking out the last bit because I haven't yet. So the majority of the ORC.
I wonder.
Is that acceptable to the mover and seconder?
No. I
No.
think that's the wrong number, isn't it? Wouldn't
So
that
it would
go
be
in
67.
69 rather than 68?
Well, so the intent of 68 would be the submission point, and 69 is the decision. We do have that concern, and we do have that point raised in what is now paragraph 66 on the screen. It already sits in there.
I suspect all of us would support improved clarity, is I guess. But what that means is then explained in 68 and 69 onwards.
Do you want then the 68 how it was and 69 to say the majority of the ORC supports retaining the Bills enabling framework?
Surely, Madam Chair, we're not going to reach consensus on every item.
No,
In the interest of being.
No,
Exactly.
I was just
agree.
wanting to move on to allow for the ability for us to give a message that doesn't just trample on the minority just by saying the majority, and that's the views of the council, because we can do a wee bit better than that sometimes by nuancing it and saying the majority or that there's several views. That's all. And in this case, suggesting the majority just gives a tweak. But it's a suggestion. The mover and the seconder can.
Sorry, doesn't that require a different motion? And that would be that you add a new 70, which said some councillors preferred, and it would be the wording of 71, providing for a clear environmental bottom line such as maintain or improve or no overall degradation. That would be a subsequent motion to the one that's just been put.
It might, but that's not. I'm inviting the mover and the seconder to accept a change of 68 and 69 instead.
Can I contribute to this, Madam Chair, by saying that if we go down that, we go into a position where we've got to almost go through every clause, engage support for whether or not there is a majority, a minority, of a unanimity around the table before we do it. We're submitting this on behalf of the ORC. There's a democratic organisation. I've lost enough votes around this table over the last 10 years to know that no one's ever said, and Michael Laws should have his particular view noted in submission, any submission to Parliament. So it's just the majority rules. That's the way decision works. For example, I would look at clause 66, which starts with the words, however, concerns exist that without an explicit maintain or improve environmental policy direction, the framework may fail, blah, blah, blah. I would suggest to you that that's something that I can't live with just quietly, and I don't have that same concern. I've never been asked my opinion on it, but you then invite me to go back there. Do you see what I mean?
I think Andrew's already had his right reply, and we just needed to vote.
I give up, Matt.
This is a procedural issue.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Thanks for trying. I'll leave it.
Put it by division.
We'll finish this first.
So we've had our right of reply and we've got 68 and 69 as moved and seconded. All those in favour?
We have a division that has been requested by
Yes.
a number of people.
Yes, right.
Councillor Byers,
Aye.
Councillor Calvert,
Aye.
Councillor Gardner. Aye. Councillor Hollier. Oh, I've missed Councillor Gillespie.
Yeah, it's okay.
Councillor Gillespie,
Sorry. Aye.
Councillor Kelleher,
Aye.
Councillor Laws.
Aye.
Councillor Malcolm,
Aye.
Councillor Noon,
Aye.
Councillor Robertson,
No.
Councillor Somerville,
No.
Councillor Wilson.
Aye.
We have 2 against and the remaining in favour. The motion is passed.
Thank you. Moving on, there's no,
I think I've missed my chance. If we're going to do that same criteria, I'd like to just voice my vehement opposal to freshwater farm plans. But
No, you haven't
we're not doing it that way, are we?
Say that.
You're on for it now, mate.
Huh?
You're on for it now. No, you're fine.
Okay.
You can raise it.
we can,
Okay.
yeah.
Can I just quickly ask Joe a question about it? One of the things about freshwater farm plans was that it was supposed to replace consents. Can you think of any examples of consents that might be no longer needed because they'll be covered by a freshwater farm plan?
Perhaps can I try and assist? And when the council was considering developing the land and water plan, there were multiple rules that we provided that said you could either get a consent or this could be managed through the freshwater farm plan. They were silage, they were fertiliser application on riverbanks, they were
Trains, wasn't it train?
Intensive winter
Trains, I
grazing.
think, come into
grazing.
it.
So there were a number of, there's always a number of opportunities to do that for activities as a table sees fit.
Sediment trips.
Sediment trap.
Yeah, that was another one.
Detainment funds.
Yeah, there were
Yeah.
quite a number.
So
A
it sounds
while
like that's minor things to me, whereas instead we're placing this whole new construct over every farmer already, and every extensive farmer that be causing minimal impact on the environment is still caught under this thing. I can see armies of clipboard carrying certifiers and auditors patrolling the countryside. It also says in Schedule 5, Section 7, it says that freshwater farm plans must comply with any other requirements and regulation that can just be changed and set by a minister at their whim, which will completely change a freshwater farm plan. They become, it's supposed to be a non-regulatory pathway, but it's going to, the regulations can be foisted on farmers at a minister's whim without any regional considerations.
Have you a suggestion or just expressing a discontent?
We don't need freshwater farm plans.
So again, these paragraphs just reflect what we heard around the table. You can do with them what you wish, including strike them out, amend them. There's no obligation to submit on any part or anything at all. This is just the summary of what we thought we had picked up at the workshop. That's entirely in your hands.
Would you feel any better if 73 said ORC acknowledges freshwater farm plans as a tool for, rather than supporting them?
I'd have to read the whole thing again then, but I'm opposed to the whole thing.
Isn't the issue, they have to be practical and proportionate for farmers to use, and that is where we may highlight the cost and the consent, so the auditing and compliance mechanisms need to be fit for purpose. And that'd be in 73B. You could extend that to cover the points that you've just talked about.
I think this would be something that we will have another opportunity to get in amongst, that we should get in amongst on a submission process that isn't just, as Michael was saying earlier, we have a submission process now, but there'll be a further one later. And if we can really get into this issue at that point and say what concerns we have.
This is a select committee process. The
Yeah,
one
this
that
is-
Michael was talking about was local government, which isn't a bill yet.
Yeah, that's right.
So that may not be, may not.
Can I ask a question? Now that the issue
Michael, then, question.
now that the issue is being raised, the legislation that's proposed makes mandatory freshwater farm plans for over a certain hectare. Is that correct?
Yes. Joe, is it?
Yeah, it does, and it's made the threshold at which a farm plan is needed higher in terms of the hectares, so it's.
It's 50 hectares,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, so they had already changed that, so not every single farm will need one like it did under the previous iteration. And there is still a process to come in terms of what those regulations may look like and how they will be administered, which isn't part of this.
So is this intended to replace the freshwater farm plans that were regulated in 2023?
In part, yeah, so it's happening in two stages. So there's the supporting changes to the existing regulations, plus also these changes through this reform process.
Okay.
I'm happy to move it as is. I'm really comfortable where this is at.
I'll second that. This 3.2, you mean, or?
Yeah, the whole 3.2.
Yeah.
Appreciating where Robbie was coming from, but I think it's
Vote against it, Robbie.
Okay.
Vote against it.
Okay. Moved, Kate, seconded. Gretchen. 3.2. And if no one has any further comments to make, do we want to, Gary?
Sorry, I'll be really brief, but I actually have some sympathy for where Robbie is heading, because as freshwater farm plans have evolved, I can only see them getting to a point where they are box ticking exercises and shelf filler uppers. But then they will create something that is, when officialdom arrives on your farm, something that is outdated suddenly gets hauled out and you are raked over the coals for it. So I don't see the need as I don't see how farming business can be mapped out in a plan and then be stuck to by the letter of the law, because farming changes day by day. So Robbie's raised a really good point, and I think in the detail right here, even though this is a catchphrase for central government and they are utterly determined that freshwater farm plans will be there, I think I'd vote in support of them as well, against it. Thank you.
If there are no further,
I will talk to right of reply on that one.
Right of reply for Kate.
Sorry, I will be supporting these because this is not a farm plan which says what thou shalt do. It makes you look and consider all of the options should something go wrong and how you will act. It actually foreshadows that things do change, that the weather does happen, that a whole lot of things change, but it gives you that pathway to say, I did it this way and that was rationally thought out. It actually means that you have considered all options and that is justified, that response, and that you have considered that with someone who has certified you in that response is really helpful, saying that is your only option and it is the best option you had.
Right, let's have a division.
Councillor Byers,
Against.
Councillor Calvert,
Against.
Councillor Gardner, against. Councillor Gillespie,
Well,
Councillor Hollier,
For.
Councillor Kelleher,
Against.
Councillor Laws,
Yes.
sorry,
That was yes.
Councillor Malcolm,
For.
Councillor Noon,
Aye.
Councillor Robertson,
Aye.
Councillor Somerville,
Aye.
Councillor Wilson,
Aye.
4 against and 8 in favour. Motion is carried.
Could we go back to the iwi one that hasn't been resolved yet?
I was just going to say that we've finished the highlighted things and I was going to go. We can go back to the first one and then I was going to go back to the
As well, Kate, too.
speak to its
covenant.
submission and then go back to the whole of the document.
Yeah, we've got the covenant one to do as well, which is.
Oh, covenant, sorry.
Yeah.
Right, 1.1.
So I had understood in our conversations, and I may have picked this up incorrectly, that the way that we had understood the government was going and that we had supported was that we would work with the iwi in the plan development, in which case they would need to be less involved in the consent stage. And I think we need to either support that or not. Or maybe I've got that wrong. Not supporting that would mean that we would have an issue on the consent stage. And I mean, that, I don't know where we had that conversation, but that was how I had understood that we were saying it. Is that how we discussed it?
Really?
Well, generally.
Yeah, no, that's my recollection as well, yeah.
So I wasn't here that day, but I'm seriously concerned about just sort of that sentence, in the sense that there's been major issues about implanting iwi into consenting processes.
So just
And so I don't know what that means, but if what it means is like we've currently got, it's
a question, right?
Yeah, that's where I was going, is that you take the consenting process out, it's in the planning, which I call the regulatory function.
Where were you, Virgin?
Sorry, in the, what was it, the document from Southland, anyway, and it said about some of the areas where iwi saw that they may miss out if it was they weren't seeing all the consents coming past. And I think they were describing when the planning process wasn't detailed enough to cover stuff like have they accurately and publicly recorded all the waihi tapu or sacred sites and stuff like that, which sometimes are held a little bit secret because they don't want people there desecrating, etc. So that sort of thing. It's the opportunity to be able to participate and to make treaty settlement obligations and things may not be there. However, if the plan, you could say that if the planning was detailed enough to provide for important matters such as treaty settlement obligations, etc., that might satisfy that, I think. So, and also when we did discuss this, we said maybe mana whenua iwi Māori would be keen on this approach where there would be less involvement in consenting, but we can't speak for them. And that's how I remember it being left, rather than we all want to move to just elevating to the planning stage. But yeah, I mean, we have heard before at Mana that we don't want to be inefficient and we don't necessarily want to see every consent, but we do want to cover our important things. So I don't know if we can word that if the planning phase is really good and detailed, we can not have as much consenting.
Can I ask a question?
Michael.
I'm reading the submission from Te Rupu Tau Murihuku, sorry, that we've received. And their request of us is that we get involved when consents aren't notified.
So just for context, this is their, so at the workshop, you left it and said you'd really like to hear from iwi, what they thought. And so that's been provided from Te Raupu Taio as the submission points that Ngāi Tahu are considering making are not suggested for you,
So-
just for you to consider.
No, that's fine. Yeah. But I'm not asking that we're going to necessarily endorse that and put it as part of our submission. That's not the question I was going to say. They're saying that they only want under the new regime. They don't want under the new regime that they only get involved if the consent is notified. What they are saying is there may be consents that aren't notified that we have a particular interest in and we will want to say. And we want to receive that automatically. The question I have of, if a consent comes into the Otago Regional Council today, do we automatically ask iwi to overview it, whether it's notified or non-notified, for the purpose of cultural, cumulative or wāhi tapu effects, or any other?
Clarify. No, so they would need to be an affected party who'd met the test under the existing act for that. We have a number of parties that get an overview of the applications that come in, but that goes to a range of stakeholders. So no is the answer to that.
So how would they tell you about their cultural, cumulative or wāhi tapu issues currently?
So that's expressed through a range of the planning documents that we have, an iwi management plan, and then also through our regional plan water. And in any specific applications, sometimes there will be cultural impact assessments if the applicant has engaged Manawhenua directly.
Okay. And the other thing is, thank you, they say they want Otago and Southland to maintain and protect, enable and protect bespoke joint decision-making arrangements, including guaranteed iwi representation on spatial plan committees. Do we have bespoke iwi planning arrangements that enable and protect joint decision-making?
So through the chair, what this council has done in the past is agreed to work with iwi, for example, they were on the Land and Water Plan Governance Group. I suspect that's what they're referring to. A similar process happened in Southland, and I think that there was an iwi appointed commissioner on the RPS panel. I can't quite remember. That's what I'm anticipating that they're talking about, but I couldn't clarify. I couldn't be certain, sorry.
Right, so that's pretty minor, what you've just described then. It's not elevated to this particular bespoke governance arrangement that they want us or would like us to consider in terms of a submission. Is that right?
I mean, it could also be referencing previous arrangements on council committees that are not in the.
Okay, so you're not quite sure.
I'm not quite sure.
Okay, that's all.
I would like to invite the council to be silent on this issue. I think iwi speaks for itself very eloquently. And I don't think we know enough about even really what we're doing at the moment, or where the new legislation would take us, or where the iwi having decision-making powers on a body that we don't even know what it's going to be yet, or where they fit in or whatever. I'd like to be silent upon that and leave that to iwi to make their own submissions to the government about.
Are you so moving?
I am, if I have a seconder.
Second.
Seconded Robbie. Kevin.
Quick question. So when we go to one, so that's the question that staff have asked. Is that what you've asked? Iwi and Bob, you want a decision on that? So the 7, are you deleting that 7? ORC acknowledges the importance of its relationship with Kaitahu.
Yes, we'll take up both those parts that Flu's just struck through.
Don't feel quite as strongly about the second part, but certainly one,
Why
and
would
it
you
would
put it in
be
there?
more straightforward to probably take out.
Unless there was a
7
reference to
too.
something else.
Sorry, Michael?
I was just saying, why would you put it in there unless there was a reference to something else? You're saying that for a reason, you know? Otherwise, well, if you don't want to say anything, don't say anything.
Andrew?
It's just a comment. My understanding, tell me if I'm wrong, if someone will, is that the legislation basically says that the Treaty of Waitangi will be upheld and any Crown obligations will be upheld in relation to the Treaty of Waitangi. That's my understanding.
And the case that's been found but has been appealed in Marlborough says that we don't have a partnership arrangement with iwi at local government level. The relationship that is had with iwi is where it is referred to in statute. The Crown has obligations, but we don't, unless specifically referred to in legislation. Is that reasonable summary, Michael? And so I'm inviting it not to be in there because we think it's a good idea when we don't even know what it would mean. Kate?
I would foreshadow an alternative resolution, and that would be that the leads in this portfolio will come back with a response, having considered this more fully, because sorry, I had explained that I had thought that our submission was going to be to support that the iwi would be involved in the planning, and therefore in that process providing for less requirement to be in the consenting process. I haven't got my head around that, I'm sorry. I haven't put my head back into the planning bill and the natural environment bill to see where that is articulated and therefore can give you enough here to speak to it. But that is what I'm going to foreshadow, is that that would be my alternative resolution that would come back with a paragraph in time that recognises our relationship with Kaitahu and their involvement in the planning process and supporting what I think was in the legislation. But unless the staff can tell me quickly what that.
No, and the 1.1 was just the headings that were used on the slides for the workshop. It wasn't making any determination. And then
appreciate that.
0.7 was the introduction to whether or not you wanted to add something. That's all that meant.
No, I appreciate that.
The point of having iwi involvement in planning, if you take out the consenting, the planning, being involved in the planning may well involve being involved in the consenting. And the planning might say, plans, you cannot carry out this plan without asking iwi of their, whatever it is before something, and it puts it right back. The planning potentially puts it right back in the consenting. To me. Gretchen.
Oh, sorry, my mic was on. I just want to strongly say that I would have supported iwi involvement in planning and appropriate consenting processes, and that we would have submitted on that. I know other people don't, that's okay, but I strongly do want to support the benefit of that and our ongoing relationship there. It's crucial that they're involved. So that's my feeling.
Michael.
What I was just going to say is I appreciate there are difference of views around our table on this issue, but really this is for government to work out, working through a process now of the explicit involvement of iwi throughout the country in legislation. They will determine that. And I think it's absolutely right that Ngāi Tahu, who have a strong representative voice, will be appearing in front of the select committee with their own views as to what that should look like. And I think that's the appropriate place to leave it.
Neil,
The only thing that I would want to be sure of, whether if we do say something, that we're heading that we might not, but Kate's foreshadowed where we might go, is that in the event that we do, it should reflect what we currently do have agreed with Ngāi Tahu.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet.
Yeah, well, we've got some current agreements, and so whatever we should say should reflect that, no more, no less, in my view. So obviously this with the decision goes, but certainly with what Kate's foreshadowed, I think that would be something that what I would think we could look at and say, is there something that would be reflective of our current engagement or relationship.
Robbie, did you want to make a contribution?
No.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, got something. If we're looking to streamline and make things more efficient, having another layer to get through doesn't achieve that.
Andrew?
All I would say is, just picking up on Neil's point, I think it's important to recognise the legislation talks about the importance of carrying on existing relationships where they're already established with iwi, and I don't, in my view, that's not actually saying that. It's not saying we're not going to continue on the current arrangements. What's the way I read it?
Alan?
Yeah, mana whenua in all parts of the country should definitely have a part to play in this around planning and consenting. And I think it befits our good relationship with Ngāi Tahu that we make that point, if that's what we believe, and clearly some of us do. I would be prepared to, in the interest of getting something in here that's useful, prepared to support Kate's proposal where something is placed in there around planning. Thank you.
Can you put that,
Given?
if you put that motion that you've got on the table, please?
What motion is that?
Motion is
To
that
withdraw those two.
we don't, we're silent on
Yeah. And then Kate's got a subsequent
those two.
Is that right, Kate?
If it fails.
Yeah. My right of reply, why? There's several reasons why I am suggesting we keep out of this area. The government will listen to iwi all throughout the country about their views about how they interact with this new lot of legislation. And it's most appropriate to me that it's thought of at a national level and by interaction with various iwi and others, because as Michael is sometimes prone to remind us, many of the people in Otago who are Maori aren't Ngāi Tahu, and many of Ngāi Tahu don't live in Otago. And we need to engage at some level with Maori in Otago, and we haven't got a good handle on what we do with that now. I'd like to see the government decide if they've got ideas about how local government should interact with Maori, whether they think that you should interact only with iwi who are based in your area, and what you do with the Maori who aren't local iwi. Those sorts of things are national comments to me and should be dealt with most easily by Maori having a national conversation with government rather than us having our conversation down here slightly awkwardly. I think that now that we understand that at least under the current law, there isn't a treaty obligation with local iwi. Our assumption that is made in various of our documents and things that we have a partnership is no longer a legally supported position. I don't mean it's illegal, I'm just saying that the law is not saying that we have a treaty partnership obligation to iwi. That leaves us with having what relationship we want in the future. And to me, it's really important that we have a good, solid relationship with iwi in Otago. It doesn't help that building that on a false position, which we have at the moment, that it's based on a treaty obligation that we do not have. Let's have a good, strong relationship with iwi based on our respect and our understanding of them as tangata whenua in our area, and anyone else who is tangata whenua in our area. I also am mindful of the concerns that people have had in the past and quite recently that involvement with iwi, with the consenting process, has had the effect of people not being able to do something without effectively the consent of Ngāi Tahu, which is able to be achieved through a monetary compensation figure. Now, I can understand the idea that what the rest of us do with land in Otago may well breach tikanga or other thoughts that iwi have, but it falls uncomfortably on me the idea that if you're unhappy with what somebody's doing on the land, that some version of what has been described in a consent from Otago as utu, as compensation for Maori, makes doing a bad thing in the eyes of Ngāi Tahu an acceptable thing. I find that whole process uncomfortable and unhelpful as a process. So I would like us to just stay out of it, leave iwi to make their own relationship with government and through government back to us with our obligations. And that in the meantime, I would like to continue to have a strong and significant relationship with Maori in Otago. I think it's really important for all of us. It is our most important relationship, arguably. So do we want a division or do we want to just move it? I'll move it. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. On the contrary?
No.
I think we should probably have a division.
Okay, councillor Byers.
Aye.
Councillor Calvert.
Aye.
Councillor Gardner. Councillor Gillespie. Councillor Hollier.
Sorry, I just haven't heard the last couple of people.
Do you care?
Yes or no?
Yes or no, councillor Hollier?
I'm actually struggling to understand. So this is to agree to take those out and that Kate's going to reintroduce something else. Is that correct?
To take them out, full stop, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's to take them out.
So the foreshadowing that Kate signalled that she was going to propose something else as an alternative, is that happening or not?
That only happens if this fails.
Right. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to hearing Kate, so I'm confident that it'll go through. So I'm happy for this to fail and then for Kate to foreshadow something and do something good.
Councillor Callagher,
Yes.
Councillor Laws,
Yes.
Councillor Malcolm,
No.
Councillor Noon,
No.
Councillor Robertson,
No.
Councillor Somerville,
No.
Councillor Wilson.
No,
Right, we've got two.
I'm not quite sure
Seven
though,
against and
be
5 in
wonderful, though.
favour, so motion has failed.
Short, simple.
I'll put shadow motion that Neil and Kate as lead portfolios develop and circulate a paragraph on iwi involvement, supporting their involvement in the planning, acknowledging our current relationship, and to be added into this in the next day.
Can we see that?
And it will be circulated to get consent.
Can we still see it up there?
This is the motion, sorry. I've just, no, I haven't had a chance, sorry.
Just, oh, you did well there, Kate. Yeah, just.
Oh, I can say, sorry,
And check the
that
typo.
Neil and Kate as portfolio leads, develop and circulate a paragraph on iwi involvement, supporting their involvement in planning and acknowledging our current relationship to be added into the submission.
No, you don't need that.
This is neither, that's.
Going now.
Sorry, my writing apparently according to councillor Kelleher is illegible. He was quite good about it.
I'm struggling with how that's got accountability or transparency. written on it.
Sorry, it would be, you have to have consensus to be put on. And that is, I don't want to do it on the hoop. And I understand why people don't want that done like that, but I think we need to have a paragraph in there and it will be done by consensus.
So are you saying that outside this council meeting, we will have a council meeting vote by email between each other, or?
Well, I think we've already got the format that you and Kevin have to approve it anyway, in that delegation that goes to us on submissions. So we use that process, but I would certainly be involved with the whole of the council in it.
Sorry, I'm wondering whether the mover might just,
Hasn't been seconded.
remove the bit about you and Neil and just leave the rest of it as that's all that goes in there, is that the council, whatever the rest you said, full stop, and
Okay.
that's the bit that goes in.
Okay,
And
well,
then
I'm
we've
very
agreed
happy
it
for that.
today.
Okay.
It's, yeah, the short
Okay.
and simple,
And basically that
or not agree.
we
with,
added a
whatever.
sentence, and so the submission is that supporting iwi involvement in the planning process as outlined in the statute,
No,
in the bills, acknowledging our current good relationship.
And that's different again, but
Probably as good as well.
It's going to be as good as we can get here.
Can you write it down?
it's probably better than what we had actually.
I'd wait for a button.
Would you be prepared to change that to acknowledge the importance of our relationship with, rather than saying the current relationship?
No, can I just read out what Kate said, please, again? Because I think I can live with it and it'd be nice to have some consensus, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Council supports iwi involvement in the planning process as involved in the bills, so these pieces of legislation, nothing else, and acknowledges our relationship. Oh. It's pretty bland, but it sort of gets there and it makes us all happy and we can get on to the next thing. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. It's worse for us, but it's half of worse. So that's
It wasn't very bad.
Yeah.
What was the last
It's
bit
only
you said,
half.
Michael?
Kate's moved, Kate seconded, Michaael.
Yeah.
Michael seconded, well done.
I think he did.
Acknowledge
Yeah,
it.
no. I'm happy with compliments
And acknowledges.
Any,
and acknowledging our
Comments?
relationship.
right, I'll move this, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
On the contrary, carried.
Well done, Kate. Well done, Michael.
Just acknowledge the importance of our relationship, not its.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then the last matter is the covenant issue, which I've reworded and has been recirculated and is now diligent.
Is it up here?
Recirculated with
Oh,
the inclusion.
thank you.
I will just share now and show you where that has got to.
This was the issue about the Property Law Act. I raised it as one that we have discussed. I mean.
So that the only, ignore the numbers except for to say that's where we'll place it in the submission. That's the only reason we've done that rather than tutoing in the submission. And the submission point is the stuff that's underlined, and then with Councillor Wilson's changes in the purpley tracked changes colour.
Thank you.
Okay, I just did.
Okay, Kate. Try and have a go at convincing us of that one then.
Well, I appreciate that some covenants are good and they actually secure property rights and all of those things, and that's fine. But there are some covenants that actually get in the way of good use of infrastructure and good planning. And so at the moment, the covenants are purely wide how they can be used, and they're used very, very well in some cases, especially with biodiversity values. This allows the government to have time to consider whether it needs to have some controls in the Property Law Act, and the range and effect and the how they undermine everything else that they're trying to do with this act.
And can I just say, this was discussed at the workshop, it was inadvertently left out. Hopefully if there is anything else that we've missed, someone identifies it, but the intention was that this was going to be in the submission, we just didn't pick it up.
At the moment, it requires the High Court action. It's just too complicated and exceedingly expensive. And there should be either a different process to fix it or a limit to what can be covenanted or a transition phase. We can't fix it here, but we can at least raise.
Do you know how that fits in with the proposal that the government has, that if council imposes things on your property, imposes conditions on your property use that are onerous, that they will be compensated?
We've raised that in a different paragraph. This is about if you're leading developers to undermine good planning, and this is all about good planning and good spatial planning. If it can be undermined by something else, then we're just raising, have they thought about that?
Yes, I'm saying, I appreciate that. I'm saying that would you expect that compensation will be paid to people who lose property rights
So this is
because they've had covenants taken away on their property?
It's a different issue.
It's irrelevant.
This is trying to,
It's a private issue.
this is trying to do the opposite of actually restrict out covenants. So for example, the discussion at the workshop was at the moment some district plans limit or require particular amounts about your living area, for example, and those sorts of things are going to be removed from the bill. They might restrict colours of buildings and things like that. The discussion that was had at the workshop was that while they might be removed in the district plan, they can still be imposed by a covenant, and therefore it's undermining the intent of the bill to not interfere with someone's private property. So this submission point was intending to capture that. So if you're going to make it less interference through the bill, you should also make it less interference through the ability to impose covenants. That's what we were trying to capture, which was the discussion.
Yes, I do. I understand where it's going, but what I'm saying is it has the same for a property owner who's got the benefit of a covenant.
Yeah.
Who you then say that benefit that covenant will disappear. You are taking away something from the property owner in the same way. If it's the government taking it away, it's not a private, although it looks like a private arrangement between two private people, you are taking away something that somebody had bargained for and had as a value on their property. At this point,
No, so we've covered that, sorry, not all covenants are equal. And so some don't necessarily protect anything. And don't necessarily protect property rights, and wouldn't necessarily like it. Part of the, what, and we had that discussion in there and why I've added, or provide a simple process for covenants to be changed rather than having to seek leave to the High Court. And that's the problem is, sometimes everyone wants to get rid of them, but they can't. It may be about the fires they can have, and the technology changes, but they can't change the covenant. It's those sort of things that get in the way of good progress.
so if you add in the covenants to be changed by covenantors, covenantees, covenant.
Again, it's
Well, I mean, is it that you are thinking that government or local government would change those covenants willy-nilly, or that the people themselves might like to?
look, let's say the decision requested is that the government give clear direction on how they view property law governance as well as the RMA.
This
And
one
maybe
is
easier.
where the trip changes, but it's me, so sorry.
And look, just ask them to, at the moment, not leaving it blank, not addressing it, just leaving it tortuous. At least address that inconsistency or provide a simpler method so that that can be fixed.
I much prefer it was considers the as opposed to changes it and overrides property rights, because that's where it was going. Michael,
Can I ask why we're even getting involved in this issue? This is a TA issue, it's not a regional council issue. Why are we even making a submission?
Because some of us went to a workshop and it was raised, and so we raised it, and so we're dealing with it, because it's one that it stops good planning, stops good infrastructure in some places, and causes no end of grief, and it's quite a lot of non-compliance.
Listen, again, we have no expertise in this area at all. This has been foisted on us for the first time. Yeah, yes, it has. And it is a TA issue. It's territorial authorities, district and city councils that set the rules for building or the covenants of and grant the consents. We just sit there and tell you whether or not you're on a floodplain.
Can I just comment? I think the overarching theme here is a lot, it aligns with what the legislation is trying to achieve, and it's around to be more enabling. And I think that's, I mean, this can be really complex and all the rest of it. I think your point before was around regulatory relief and liability, which is a separate topic. Only trying to be helpful.
I think if that says government considers the inconsistencies, then they can figure out what to do when they see one of those, rather than saying that we encourage the removal of property rights that people are paying for. Neil,
I think the key thing about this is more about a process than our lane. At the end of the day, it makes little or no sense to bring in some new regulations that make things simpler, and yet there's an ability for them to be filtered by another means. So it's more about a bigger picture. It's probably more strict planning issue than, as you say, in the IRC's lane necessarily. I don't know if we've got any of it, had any covenants, or where we might get into that situation. But it's more about making sure that from a process point of view, there is consistency, so that sort of thing can't happen. And who knows what the future may hold for what the plans will say as to who administers what.
So move it.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
okay, any other discussion? Gary?
Yeah, I had concerns with this in the workshop, and I have concerns with it now. Covenants create specificity, and they contain strength. They create a situation that could be different to planning rules, but are useful at the time of the application, and they are unique to a certain area. So I think they are a useful addition to the planning process, and I'm worried about the meddling with them at our level when it should be a TLA level of planning that handles any change that they may view as issues with covenants, not at our level.
Michael?
Listen, I also think we're interfering in the area of contract law between a buyer and a seller. When you enter into a covenant, and probably my area is the best example of this in actual fact, we've got serious housing developments there with the intent of improving the asset for everybody who lives within it. That's the reason why the covenants exist. Now, the other aspect of this is if you don't like the rules that the developer's setting, no one's actually forcing you to go and buy a property there or live under that basis. We are seeking to involve ourselves in a private contractual relationship between seller and buyer, between developer and homeowner. We need to stay in our lane. We can't do our own stuff properly. Why the hell are we moving off reservation on this one?
Any further discussion? I'll put the motion. All in favour?
Aye.
Against?
No.
No.
Division.
Division.
Go to say this time.
Speak up so Matt can hear.
Yes.
Let's start with Matt.
Councillor Wilson.
Aye.
Councillor Somerville.
Aye.
Councillor Robertson.
Aye.
Councillor Noon.
Aye.
Councillor Malcolm.
No.
Councillor Laws.
No.
Councillor Kelleher.
No.
Councillor Hollier.
Yes, I agree with the change.
My vote, sorry, my vote's just dropped off. My computer is just not working for me. Sorry, I'm going to have to start again. Councillor Somerville.
Aye.
Councillor Robertson. Sorry.
Sorry.
Apologies.
Oh, we're going
Yeah,
again.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
to go again.
Aye.
Councillor Noon.
Aye.
Councillor Malcolm.
No.
Councillor Laws.
No.
Councillor Kelleher.
No.
Councillor Hollier.
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
Councillor Gardner. Councillor Calvert.
No.
And Councillor Byers.
No.
And I'm a yes.
And you're a yes, I've got you. I've got 5 against and 8 in favour. Motion passes.
5 against and 8 in favour.
Sorry,
Kate voted twice.
sorry.
Voted twice.
Motion has passed.
No, she didn't was a start.
Can I just, oh gosh, that was bad. Can I just note there is a typo in one of the resolutions that talks about the national environment bill. That should be the natural environment bill. Apologies.
2 more things to do. 2 more things to do. At the end of this, it suggested that if we had the opportunity, we'd like to be heard. I suggest that that would be not a good thing. And the reason why I suggest that we don't ask to be heard is that round this table, we've come to what we want to do in the way of a submission. And nothing that somebody who represents us could say could do anything but make our position less helpful. If they answer a question that we've already answered, then somebody can find that out from our submission. If they answer a question that isn't answered in a submission, then they're going outside the brief given to them by council. I think we stand on our submission and don't ask to be heard. Have people got any views on that? Councillor Gardner.
I respectfully disagree with that. I think there is the ability for whoever around the table to add more depth and context to what we've mostly collectively put forward. I think we have the opportunity to colour in some of the details, and that would be more beneficial than not appearing.
Richard?
Totally agree with that. And I would trust our representatives entirely to represent us. I might not agree with all of the positions, but I trust that they were really fairly presented. Having done this, had the opportunity to do this before, it's really valued when somebody does turn up in person, and there are usually questions. And having sat around this table for ages, often we get thanked for turning up and for giving a good submission, and more weight is given to what we've said too. So agree with that, and I think that our portfolio leads should both do it.
You do it wrong.
I think in general,
Can we have a motion then?
yeah,
One way or t'other?
I was
Yeah,
gonna say, in general, I think the chair speaks on behalf of the council when the council is being spoken on behalf of. And if people want me to, I'm prepared to attend something if there is an attendance to be done. I don't think I mean, in general, the portfolio lead should be there, but I think the only person who is able to speak on behalf of the council, especially saying anything that isn't exactly in here, is Kevin or I. Have anybody got any other thoughts about it?
I would absolutely agree with that generally, but unfortunately Kevin and you were not in the workshop to hear the examples and the discussion that we had, and I'm just
I would move
Frank,
that we do speak.
We
and
need to
that-
do all the motions.
Oh, sorry.
That was a whole lot of motion.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna move that one and then we can do the other ones, but yeah, that's fine. I would move that we do present at the council and that Neil and Kate present on our behalf. I don't know if it's written down.
I'm particularly concerned about the idea that there was examples at a workshop that wasn't a decision-making body around our table. Well, not helped by the fact that I wasn't at, as it happens there.
Oh,
Sorry, I wasn't saying I would, the helpful thing, and I'm really happy for whoever does it, but to understand the context of the discussion, it was a really good workshop where people gave examples, and either the chair and deputy chair should, if they wish to do it, should be listening to those examples. The examples, as Chanel just said, is what embellishes and gives context that helps them understanding why we do submissions. And examples don't have to be put into the submission per se, but they do give context, which is really important if we're going to say that Otago is different necessarily from other places. Otherwise, we can get national directions from central government and won't need it at all.
Gary.
I respect your stance, Hilary, around the suggestion to not present. But I don't support the portfolio leads presenting. If we are going to present, it has to be either chair or deputy chair. I think portfolio leads are the right people for preparing the submission. I think hopefully Hilary or Kevin can speak on behalf of all of us.
Michael.
Yes, it's an invidious position we're in, isn't it, really? Because in this particular case, we are making an official submission on behalf of the Otago Regional Council, A, to our Parliamentary Select Committee, B, and C, we have a well-established precedent around this council in all my time, Gretchen, of the chair and the deputy chair representing us in such august institutions, not in delegating that role to other councillors. There is a compromise, though, here available, and it is surely evident to all, and that is that the chair and the two portfolio leads appear. The chair makes a submission on behalf of the ORC, and if questions there, you've got expert counsel available to you. Those are the portfolio leads who can answer any specific questions that may be of moment. If that compromise is acceptable to all three, the two portfolio leads and the chair, then we've solved the problem.
Thank you. That sounds like a sort of suitable compromise. I'm partly, my view is partly covered by people in Parliament when they ask questions around select committee tables. They're usually trying to get a result or trying to get you to say something that you might not have said, and it's important that we don't say something because somebody's trapped us into saying something because it suits the ends of the person who's asking the questions. And it's all that comes out then is a one-liner saying that OIC thinks such and such because you've been trapped by a questioner. They are, I mean, that's the political process. So.
Is that an acceptance of the compromise or not? Okay, then I will move.
Yes, it was.
Here it goes. That the ORC presents this submission to the Select Committee at Parliament on the respective bill, and the petition or the presenters be the chair and the two portfolio leads.
Michael, can I ask, could you move 1, 2, 3 and that as
Sure,
four?
okay.
And that is the paper.
Thank you very much. I'll do just that.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that is 5.
That'll do too.
All right.
Second.
Sorry, did we actually finish the motion? Had yours been seconded, Gretchen? Because we actually have to take it off the table first. Had Gretchen's been seconded? Process wise.
It hadn't been seconded,
Then it's fine.
yeah, I don't think.
All right, so I've moved. Just for a second. Neil, did you second?
I thought actually.
No, Cuban just.
Councillor Malcolm
Just did it.
seconded.
All right, well then, let's have a vote.
Right. Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Good. Well done.
Are we done?
Thank you. The meeting is closed.
I think that's.